şarkısı nedir görmek istiyorum. Hazır mıyız?
Aynen.
Dicle Olcay ve ekibine çok teşekkür ederiz.
Thank you very much, Dicle Olcay and her band. The lyrics are so great. Thank you so much. Atatürk has a saying, culture is about making meaning of what you read and what you see. And the lyrics of this song is also very meaningful. That's why I like it. So now I will invite two people, but before I invite them, I would like to show a video clip.
Wow! Evet, bilim bölümü başlıyor.
So science section will start now. I mean, we started off with music and conversations, but now let's focus on science. This is the Science TV channel. One of the presenters is the head of YGA, Asude, and the other one is Cihan. Have you heard of triathlon? You swim, cycle, and run one after another. And different muscles of your body is working, and of course it's not easy to activate one muscle after another. Asude and Cihan are very knowledgeable about process management, team management, etc. And now they jumped into an unknown area, which is the TV presentation. So first they prepared the program and now they're presenting it. So Ahmet Bozer told us that this is maybe the reason, the fact that it gives us the freedom to do triathlon. YGA does not only give us responsibilities in a limited area, but it gives us responsibilities in multiple areas. Now Asude and Ceyhan has a surprise for us. I would like to invite them. So when you say triathlon, we just felt the urge to run. Asude changed her clothes and she's gonna cycle. Well, every week we make different experiments on the TV channel, and last week's experiment was about sound, and I won the competition. Well, watch very carefully. You're gonna see that I'm the winner. Yeah, you can watch again. I mean, I'm confident that I was the winner. And Cihan said, okay, let's do the same experiment with 2,500 people. Okay, we're gonna see the real winner now. Okay, you describe the experiment. Well, at lunch, we did a preparation. The fourth person, you please, we're gonna start with you. Just check underneath your seat, there's a plastic glass. And I want someone here, please. Could you please come over? Don't worry, we tried it on ourselves. It's not dangerous. Come here. Just switch to that seat. Please check underneath your seats. There are plastic glasses. You have one. 5 people from here. You over there. Okay, awesome. Now you're gonna hold these glasses up with your hand, or you can put it on your head. So without moving them, we just want you to hold them either on your hand or on your heads, and we're gonna topple them with sound. Okay, perfect. Exactly. And it's not gonna hurt you, don't worry. So if you're ready, let's go. It looks very well. Don't move, please. Don't. Yes, you're gonna keep still too. You're gonna keep still too. No one moves. No one favors Cihan. Okay, we want some fog effect as well. Some music. Perfect. When Cihan is feeling the fog, can you see? Can you see the fog? You see it, don't you? Looks so good. Cihan, mine is already finished. Let me feel again. Okay. Are you ready? Nothing's gonna happen, don't worry. Okay, I think we're all ready. Also there. Let's start. 3, 2, 1. Asude, you're going good. Don't trick us. Don't put it back. Cihan, you have to give up. You have to accept that I'm the winner. I really don't see how it happens. Okay, you're the one who implemented the rules of science better than me. Okay, let me describe what we did. Well, we're having fun, but in fact there is a science principle underneath this experiment. What we did was rather simple. We created sound waves. There's a bin, a garbage bin, there's a nylon on it, and when we hit this part, there's a pressure, and the air molecules, they vibrate and they go out of this hole and makes a hole. So the reason why we're putting the fog in is that you can see the sound waves. the circle things are the sound waves, and they grow as they go upwards. And this shows how the sound waves spread, and the sound goes onwards, going up, expanding. Well, we can talk about this until the morning, but now we have two guests, two very important names behind the scenes, behind this project, and I'll go now, and we're going to invite the two speakers. And you can watch the program at 4:15, by the way, tomorrow. We're going to have different experiments as well. Let's change the presentation, please, now. So, now the third series of the program will be broadcasted tomorrow. A lot of fun activities, fun experiments, and we have very different guests. Sadi Şener, who's going to take the stage after us, was our first guest in the program. And tomorrow, again, we're going to have Erdem Timur, Kaan Terzioğlu, who was the morning speaker. We're going to feature him in the fifth series. Azra Cohen, the writer of YGA, will also be with us. Thanks to all of them for their support. And on Tuesday, we were going to host Mehmet Toner. He has hosted the YGA team in Boston. He's our dream partner, and we shot a great part for electricity. He is the only professor, Turkish professor, who has a chair both in MIT and Harvard. And he was elected to the International Engineers Academy, a very prestigious academy based in the US. And Erdoğan Aktaş, the general manager of CNN Turkey, he started as a journalist, a correspondent, and then and we asked everyone to describe him, and they said, well, he started as a correspondent, and now he's managing a huge channel, but he's managing it with the spirit of a journalist, correspondent journalist. So most of the time he's out on the field, because he says he gets tired when he's in the office. So first, can you please take out your phones and write Bilin Deneyin and follow the page bilindeneyin.com. And in our panel today, we're going to talk about the unifying power of science. And we have very esteemed dream partners, Mehmet Toner and Mr. Aktaş, to the stage, please. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Erdoğan, please take the seat. Very active entrance you made. So Sadık, in fact, made the introduction. When we were in the US, you hosted us in your home, and you spend a lot of time with us. And when you go out of your home, by the way, Mehmet is a great cook, and when you went out of the house, they told me that they conquered your kitchen. They invaded your kitchen, indeed. And this is your kitchen. This is the dinner. And this is what happened when you leave the house. Sadık makes the eggs. How did they leave the kitchen? A bit messy, but not very bad. Okay, next year be careful. We might invade the home, the entire house. You should maybe hide away the title deed. Before the video clip, just want to make an introduction. 10 months ago, we came to you, and we had a dream about this science program, and you very rapidly believed in this dream. It's very important. I mean, continue thinking that it's going to be the best program in the world. Prepare it, and I'm going to broadcast it. So there's this concept of believing in a concept and expanding it. You said the world's best program, and you're a very meticulous person, attentive to details. Why did you immediately buy this project? Well, the Young Guru Academy, maybe we can call this Young Proud Academy, because I'm really proud of all of you. There's this gap, and you're really working hard to close this gap, to make science known, to make science be loved. YGA and the program specifically will help you reach, access your target audience, and we want the kids to buy this science as well. And I think the program was a total success. The best program, the best news is the ones that have not been yet done. So I'm sure your fourth, fifth program will be even better. Thank you so much. And you, did you somehow relate it to your life? Our first purpose was to make children love science. Well, as I said before, most of the time, there's this belief that we have, and it's badly shaped. Don't touch, you're gonna break it. Don't touch, you're gonna get electrified. There's this always holy book. There was this holy book in our lives, in our homes when we were children, and they used to say, don't touch it, it's gonna hit you. And then there were many electricity cables, and everyone said, don't touch them, you're gonna get electrified. So we were raised by always being pushed away from science. You have to touch. Even if it's going to break, you have to touch, you have to play with things. And unfortunately, we grew up with these wrong beliefs. And here, this is the society we created at the end. So now we have this slogan, don't touch or it's gonna get broken. This is the slogan of our program. Well, I would like to intervene at this point. First of all, I would like to thank to all the young people for showing up here. We are as excited as you are. 2 years ago, they invited me to a panel, and most of the time I have a hard time speaking sitting down. Erdogan is like that too, so I'm going to stand up with their permission. I'm sorry, it's hard for me to sit and speak. So last year they didn't invite me, but this year they invited me again. This slogan, don't touch, don't play, or it's gonna get broken. This is about the essence of science. Since the day you were born, you're being told not to do things, and you get away, you're pushed away from curiosity. For 35 years as a scientist, I describe science as the journey of a curious person to seek the truth. And scientists never try to be right. They always try to find the truth. Not their goal. Their goal may not be the truth, but they always try to find the real truth. And it's about what Sinan was talking about. It's about having a small ego. Do you remember what Rumi said? He said, egoism is a mirror that you put on your eye. If you look at it with that mirror, you're going to only see yourself. Sinan would repeat this sentence 3 times, and then his time is over, of course. I'm going to say it only once. It has a very deep meaning. We have visually impaired students here. I'm calling them visually disadvantaged. Visually advantaged. We have and we have people with a hearing loss. I call them deaf advantaged. There are people who are also disadvantaged in the sense that they only see their own egos. They only grow with their own egos. And science is not for such type of people. And Ali said, don't try to be right, but try to stay right. I'm going to carry that forward, one step forward. Try to be right. Try to be the truth. Try to find the truth. Because you're going to arrive at certain points. And at certain times, you're going to be right. And you're going to achieve the truth, or you're going to arrive at the truth. Sometimes you're going to feel you're both right, but you will feel like you're right, but you didn't achieve the truth. Gandhi was ill on a bed, and he says, we're going to do this and that. And Gandhi says, you're right. But he follows, I'm not sure whether it's going to be realized, if it's going to be true. And he continues fasting. So when you feel this as a young person, in such milestones, when you have to make the right decision, you have to get out of your shelter, your shell, and look everything objectively. And then you're going to understand what science is. Science will help you to find the truth. So maybe if you don't want to sit, we can make an experiment with you. So now you very well explained us why it's important for the kids to love science. You can be right, but achieving the truth is something else. And science is a tool where everyone can experience the truth. So the program was broadcasted a couple of times, and everyone loved it. You loved it too. On one hand, you've been a correspondent, a journalist, and now you're managing a very important channel. From an objective perspective, why do you think the program was liked so much? Well, first of all, it's sincere, it serves a purpose, and the purpose is to talk about science and to talk about how you progress in this process. And also that these things are not scary things, and they're very much accessible. And of course, we can talk about many technical details, but overall, this is what I wanted to say. I mean, both in TV broadcasting and in other things, Mehmet is also an example of this.
Normally, traditionally, we've always been envious of people that live in other parts of the world. But it's about conviction, faith, and the need to embark on a new task. Just to go back and give you another example, and I'll say it again. Think about a large drum, water drum, or a water pump, right? Imagine. I remember when I was little, a kid, we would have a water drum or a pump. You do this kind of thing, and you can't pump water out. In order to pump water out, you always need to add a little bit of water on top. And that's what life is like. In order to take, you need to give. First, you need a jar of water, okay? Add a jar of water, and metaphorically add to, all elements of life. And it's out of this part of the world, this very education system that we have, our traditions, norms, habits of life, etc. So we have the capacity to do it. He quoted Rumi, and so can I, as is quoted by... And Rumi once said, I've outperformed my dad, and my children have outperformed me. as is, you know, it's almost natural. You don't remember the 1980s. In the 1980s, you hardly ever remember Naim Süleymanoğlu, a gold medalist at the Olympics in heavy weightlifting. He's actually managed to lift 3 times as much as his body weight. If you set your mind onto it, that gives you proof, evidence that you can do even better. So anybody, if anybody has had the capability to do anything, it just goes to show that you can achieve much better. If you were to haul 190 kilograms, you can, if you worked hard enough, you can carry more. Or the same goes for Hussein Bolt. You can actually run faster than him if you train hard enough and harder. Otherwise, the world can't go round and round. You've got to have confidence in yourself, have faith in your skills and capacity. I'm not trying to sort of I'm not trying to give you a rush of adrenaline. I'm just saying that, like, Mehmet knows a great deal about cancer, so you might end up perhaps inventing a cure for cancer. You might become an international broadcaster or a soccer player, who knows? I was like in the background, and I'm thinking, you know, at a glance, I'm a mechanical engineer by training, and just as I was coming out of school, I realized that I had learned a great deal of theory, but not a lot about practice. I didn't know how electrical machines operated. Now, do you know now? Now I've got a passion for learning, and learning can only happen with passion. How can you be passionate? It's got to be accessible, right? In a vicinity. And it needs to be doable. And it needs to be relevant to your life. So it mustn't be like bland and flat. It's got to be somewhat exciting. So in order to do better, we need, like, I don't know, like better education, training harder. So do you have any prescriptions for success? How can we turn science into a fun activity? And can science ever be fun? A good question. Before I take this question, I'd like to go back to what he said, because I love the recommendation. And when I first joined MIT, I'd never even traveled abroad before. When I got my acceptance, Google didn't even exist. You wrote a letter, the letter can get lost. So I was so excited. I had a professor, Axel Öztürk, I love the guy. And I said, like, what do I do? I can't even speak English properly. He said to me, look, aren't they flesh and blood? Americans are also flesh and blood. And I love that. So everyone's flesh and blood, right? Meaning, if they can do it, we can do it. And you guys can do it even better. I think this whole thing, like normally, education was, well, it wasn't this way. Like you're meant to go to the library and you're like inculcated. That's why I've gone bald. And then I would come back and you guys would be sitting behind your desk, not like this. And I was meant to lecture, and you would take down notes. I would give you books, not 2 books. You would learn, and then you were meant to be examined. Things have changed. My son asked me a question. He asked me a question about the Boyle-Wantoff equation. And I said, X is this, Y is that. And he'd Googled it by then. And I'd said it the wrong way around, and he made fun of me. After 30 years of experience, I said it was the X and the Y axes were wrong in what I said. But if you crave, and yet, you know, accessing knowledge is so much faster nowadays. Information is everywhere and anywhere. But that's a problem. Like if there's ample information, ubiquitous, If you can access what the Boyle-Wantoff equation represents, what do? Do I go home, go to bed, or go play tennis for the rest of my time? The role of the professor has changed. We're much more like a coach, a basketball coach. We don't preach, we don't lecture. We sort of coach you on how to learn. It's like have you learn self-guided learning, because there's just so much information and it's not easy to interpret that information. We're teaching you how to turn that information into knowledge. Hence, while doing it, classrooms look totally different. It's, I don't know, it's almost like master servant, no, of course not master servant, but like master craftsman and his assistant. Like I'm learning from you. We learn from each other. That's what this ecosystem represents nowadays. Learning and working together. And something else has changed. Khan mentioned it already. It's not just the shape or the form of learning, but that now we see the emergence of novel sciences. Big data, right? Now, in the past it was little, you could fit it in your pocket. No, of course not. But this whole thing around big data and also artificial intelligence, it's all non-artificial. God knows what else will come. Biomimicry. Who knows what biomimicry is? What's biomimicry? Two. See, we don't even have the Turkish for it.
Hocam araya girip bir örnek vereyim mi?
Lütfen.
Go ahead.
1899
In
Amerikan Patent
1899,
Başkanıymış.
Charles
Demiş ki,
Duell,
bitti.
who was in charge of the US Patent Institute, said it's over.
99
In 1899, he said it's over, no more patent. Biomimicry has already come out, but out of 2,000 people, only 3 of you know. It's all right, but you know what you guys have? You guys have the aspiration to learn. We couldn't in the past because there was no access to knowledge. We could only access what the professor knew. Now, everything is out there, readily available, and we need you to taste all of that. So, what he did was, he did at CNN news channel. He's a brand new dream partner, and he's just made a wonderful arrival. Let's give him a round of an applause, shall we? Okay, so and with it, we were like there at Technical University. Novel topics, nanotechnology. How can we like promote it to you? There's not much that we need, but we need to promote it, give you that knowledge. Not necessarily bombarding you with the information, but like guiding you through. And we need to do that in an exciting manner, not like boring. You wouldn't come. So it's got to be fun and learning, and that's what the young gurus want and need. It doesn't matter what we do. Like Sinan keeps saying it, and he gets mad if we don't use it. It's not about what we do. It is all about sense of collective achievement. One more example. I'm good at verbal and prose. I'm awful with numbers, science, and things, and maths. But I remember from my chemistry lessons, the professor would say this theory of compound containers. If there are 2 test tubes, until heat and fluid is equal, the relationship will continue in between. So we need to be doing that, right? And what you said earlier on is like, you put it there, you create a connection on multiple people. What do? Transfer to our kids or to each other and to the society. Okay? So if I've said it properly, yeah, it's relevant. For instance, I'll do plagiarism and I'll steal it from you.
Benim için çok güzel bir öğrenme
Okay, well, this
seansı
was
oluyor
like a brilliant
aslında.
learning session for me.
Kaan abinin söylediği ve sizin altını çizdiğiniz o
Khan said
yeni
it, you
teknolojiler,
underscored all the new technology. And then he also said these things have got to be employed appropriately. And here was this example. Like at a glance, scientists conduct, they operate across multiple different fields. In the 1940s, though, scientists in the US or in Germany, they designed the nuclear bomb. And they also built gas chambers. And again, it was scientists who actually designed vaccines that could trigger mortality. A Jewish teacher who'd been sent to the Nazi camps comes back after the Second World War to teach at a school. And every single year he reminds them that we don't want you teaching science. We don't want you teaching science. Well, that's not our first priority. He says, please make sure that the young generation are nice, that we nurture them into nice people. So it is a wonderful sort of incident or an example. Whatever you do, everything that you do is about setting an example and sort of nurturing science in the route for a humanitarian cause. You talked about early cure for cancer. Why don't you tell the audience what exactly does it do? That thing that you've invented. Go ahead, start to teach. The human body. How many cells do we have in our body? Guess.
3 milyon.
3 million.
Başka?
Ben ipucu vereyim,
Ne kadar? Milyarlarca. 7 milyon. Niye bu kadar
7 million.
Efendim? 50 trilyon kim dedi?
Who said 50 trillion?
20-30 trilyon.
20 to
50'nin üstüne
30.
çıkan var mı?
Anyone who's going to bid higher than
kaç?
50?
8 milyar.
8 billion?
Kimse tam bilmiyor çünkü bunu kimse oturup
None
tek
of
tek
you
saymıyor.
know for sure.
75
Well, but
milyar.
75 billion, round about
Demek ki
75
50
billion.
milyarden kazanıyor.
So the person
bir
who
soru,
said
10
50
katı
billion
var.
wins.
Neyi?
What's that? 10
75
times
milyar,
as
10
much
katı. Peki
as
bir
the
soru
world
daha.
population. One more thing.
75 milyar hücrenin yüzde
If there's
kaçı kanda?
75 cells, how much of it is in the human bloodstream?
Ne kadar? 80, 90. Bunu hepiniz
Very
biliyorsunuz.
little.
85.
Oh, you know this. 85. So think about it. 85% of our cells are basically juggling in your blood circulation.
Testlerindeki hiçbir anlam yok. Bir kan
So,
testi
but there's
yapıyorlar size. 2 hafta
nothing to do with your
Lökositiniz
blood,
artmış, PSA'nız düşmüş, bilmem ne.
your
Ondan
blood
sonra
test,
işte makinelerin içine
leukocytes,
sokuyoruz size.
PSA. We stick
Ne
you
olduğunu
into big
anlamak.
machines to find out what's happening. Actually, inside the blood, you can detect all disorders, so long as you've got the technology to interpret your blood test. And that's what we designed. And did you know this?
Bir
That
sağa bakın
cancer,
şimdi, sağınıza
look
bakın.
right, look
Yani
to your
kendi
right.
sağınıza da. Ben sağ solu çocukluğumdan beri karıştırırım.
I'm
Benim
always
abim de burada
confused.
şimdi akşam alay
My
edecek.
brother's here and he's going to make
Kendi
fun of me.
sağınıza bakın.
Look to your right
Oradaki arkadaşına bir de solunuza bakın.
and look to your left.
Şimdi söyleyeceğim pek hoş bir şey
Now,
değil.
you know what I'm going to be telling you?
Üçünüzden biri, siz ve iki
One
yanınızdan
out of
biri.
the three of
İçinde
you,
kaç kişi hayatınız içinde kansere
how many of you are going to be fighting
Bir
against cancer?
taneniz
One of you,
kadınsınız,
if
iki
you're a
tane
female,
erkek.
and two,
Bir de iki
two
erkek, bir de
cancers.
üç kadınsınız.
So
Yani
if you're a male,
Buradaki herkesin çoğu
so everybody,
kanserle
most
ya
of
kendileri
us,
ya aileleri
will be
mücadele
either fighting cancer ourselves or their families. But if we have more women, it'll be a better
Onun
world.
üzerine bir film yapmayı düşünüyorum.
And that's why maybe we should run a film about it. 60% of YGA is actually female.
1849'dan
okay.
beri biz
Since
kanserli hücreleri
1849,
tümörden gidip vücudu
we moved from the
ele
primary
geçirdiğini
tumor and invaded the
Bak
entire
nerede
body.
başlıyor?
The primary
Vücuda
tumor
o
starts from
şey
in
gibi,
your
kötü
lungs,
bilim gibi,
almost like
faydasız
that
şey gibi
lousy,
alıyor,
toxic
vücuduna
science.
sahip
It
çıkıyor,
actually,
öldürüyor.
and it
O da kendi de
eventually
ölüyor ama
kills you.
razı.
and the tumor dies too, but it's okay. So we detected that through a brand new
10 milyar kan hücresinde bir tane kanser
technology.
hücreyi buluyoruz.
We can actually detect one single cancer cell out of 10 billion. And we can detect 30,000 in a second. It is through the introduction of fluid mechanics, cancer genome, the essence of the technology. So it only takes us a second to detect 30 million cells. So if we were cells, like every one of us, it would only take me 2 seconds to detect one cancer cell. And it would take me 10, so to detect one single responsible cell, it takes me very little time. It takes us 10 years to arrest one single terrorist, but then again, with that, the DNA, the RNA, everything about cancer, the gene, the protein, then you use that knowledge to design the right drug for the right patient at the right time. Okay, this is what this technology enables. But it's fair enough to say that when cancer spreads, it can conquer, or the reverse is true. If it's like positive force, some positive current, because cancer starts in one single cell. Another question. So if I were to be a cancer cell, I multiply every single day. I multiply by number. I reproduce. So in 31 days, how many cancer cells?
Aşağı yukarı 1 milyar.
Roundabouts a billion.
Abi çok hızlı yayılıyorsunuz abi.
Ona bir 7 gün daha koyun.
Plus another
7
7
milyar.
days,
Kaç tane hücre
7
vardı
billion.
vücutta?
How many cells were there
75 milyar.
initially?
Vücudunuz onunu kanser
75
kapsadı.
billion. So
Ama
in
aynı
1 month,
şekilde
you've got
YGA gibi
10% of
pozitif
cancer.
force,
But if there's a
ekosistemi
positive
dediğimiz
force or a
olay,
positive
2000 kişi
ecosystem,
buradasınız, 50.000
like
kişi
there are 2,000 of
seyredenler
you,
var.
and then there are
CNN
people who are
Türk
watching
gibi
us, and there's spread of
Yapı Kredi
news,
ilgileniyor,
right?
Koç ilgileniyor, Özil ilgileniyor.
The bank,
milyonlarca insanın
the Koch group,
bu pozitif
everyone
güç,
comes on
ulaşıyor.
board,
Bütün
and this sort of
amacımız da
spreads out.
sizlerin
So our
önünü
goal is to basically underpin in the process and build a brighter future.
Demiştim de. Yani 75 milyar
Evet,
değil. İnternette öyle yazıyor.
Evet, internette ben de zaten hemen telefonu
Yep,
getirdim. Yanımda
that's
hazırlıklı
why I've got
geldim.
my phone.
Karşılaştıracağız.
Yani yanlış bir
So
şey
let's
olmasın
compare.
diye yoksa.
Yok. Şimdi
Right.
bakarsanız 300 milyar
Okay,
diye de çıkacak.
300
40
billion,
milyar
might
da
say,
çıkacak.
or
Ama
40
bunun
billion.
içinde,
But inside it,
şeyine, hücrenin hem kitlesi var hem
there's the
volümü var.
mass, and there's also the volume.
Doğru kullanarak hesaplayan 70-74 milyar
70 or
civarında ama çok
74
önemli bir
billion
rakam
is
da
the
değil
most
zaten.
accurate
Ben de
estimation.
Google'dan getirdim,
Doesn't
ben de
matter.
baktım.
That's why I've got Google. I looked it up too.
Ha?
What was your name?
Duru.
Duru.
Duru abi çok duru bir zihinle.
Okay, thank you.
Vazgeçmeden sorguluyor. Merakla hakikati
Merakla.
arıyor. Yani hani çok sağ olasın Duru.
Thank
Ben
you
bir soru
for
sormak
being
Hocam
inquisitive.
biz kansere niye çare bulamıyoruz?
Why can't we find a
Ya
cure
da
for
misal
cancer?
biliyoruz da ilaç şirketleri...
Or maybe we do, but is it
Öyle bir şey yok.
the
Buna ne olur
pharma
inanmayın
industry
lütfen.
that perhaps don't want
Engelleme diye
to
bir şey yok.
spread it? No
Herkes
way.
kendi çaresini bulmaya çalışıyor.
People are trying to find their own cure.
Evet, bu son
Yeah.
zamanlarda duyuyorum.
Lately, we hear a great
Çok
deal about
komplike bir
it,
hastalık,
but it
çok
is
akıllı
a
bir
complex
hastalık.
disorder.
Burasını tıkıyorsunuz,
It is
buradan
very
çıkıyor. Bu
smart.
mutasyonu,
So you
ilaç
might
bulduk.
be sort of protecting
Akciğer
against one
kanserinde bir
mutation,
mutasyon var.
lung
Ona bir
cancer.
ilaç veriyorsunuz,
So you
durduruyor
might,
mutasyonu çünkü
stop
bazı
that.
şeyler yaptırıyor, büyüme hormonları yaptırıyor.
like
Hastalık
through
gidiveriyor.
growth hormone, and
6
then
ay sonra
it goes away.
kanser bir daha
6 months
mutate
down the
ediyor.
road,
Bu
it can
sefer ilaç
mutate
çalışıyor.
again, and this
Dolayısıyla
time the
bizim
drug
yaptığımız
doesn't work.
teknolojilerde
The technologies that we've
kandan
designed
kanserli hücreyi,
are
akciğer
meant to
hücresini,
be
böbrek hücresini
killing,
bulduğumuz için
killing and
devamlı
detecting
kanserin
continuously.
hep kanserle olan
So
savaşımızda hep kanser
it's
bizde
the
önde.
ongoing fight
Bu gibi
against cancer.
teknolojilerde biz bir
Unfortunately,
adım
cancer
kanserden önde olacağız.
remains
Ama
ahead.
sonunda da bir şey
Novel
hepimiz zaten hep
technologies
yaşasak
might be
o da kötü
forging
bir
us
şey.
ahead,
Yani
but I
acı
don't know,
çekmemek,
living
bu tip şeyler nasıl
forever
şeker
and ever
hastalığı,
is a bit weird.
kalp
It's a bit like
hastalığı,
diabetes,
bugün bunlarla
cardiovascular
yaşıyoruz.
disease.
Kronik hastalık
We
diyoruz
live with
bunlara.
them,
Kanser
and
öyle
they
değil.
are
Geldi,
chronic.
vuruyor, götürüyor.
With cancer,
Onu
no,
yaşanan,
it
takip
kills you,
edilen
right?
ve korku
So you
yiyen bir
need
hastalık
to
haline getiriyor.
perhaps turn
Aslında
it into a
Sinan
disorder
abiye
that
yine
one
bağlayalım.
should not be
Siz
scared
az önce
of.
söylerken şey dediniz ya abi. hani
Like,
bitirdiğiniz
remember
anda
you were saying
ama
the
tekrar
minute
bir
you
ortaya çıkıyor.
finish,
Evet.
and then all of
Bana
a
şeyi
sudden
hatırlattı,
it
iyi köpek,
re-emerges. It's
kötü
like the
köpek
good
hikayesini
dog and the
hatırlattı.
bad
Hangisini
dog,
beslersen diye. Bir de
whichever
şey
one you
dediniz, hani
feed.
büyümeye
You were also
odaklanıyor,
saying
çoğalayım
concentrating
istiyor, çok
on
hızlı
growth,
çoğalayım istiyor.
wanting to
Aslında bencil
proliferate.
bir şey.
So it is
Ee,
very,
kanser
very
hücresi.
selfish,
Evet,
right?
yani
The
kendi
cancer cell
çıkarlarından vazgeçip
basically
aslında
gives up
organizm olarak
his or
yaşamaya
her
odaklansa
own vested
bunu da
interests
öldürecek.
and maybe wouldn't kill.
Belki bir şey anlatıyor.
For example, maybe
açıdan
the
baktığında.
cancer cell has a
Aslında
story,
komik gelmiyor.
has a message. No, that's not funny.
Kanser, sen kendine ne sanırsan kansere de onu san diye Erdoğan abi başka bir
Bilmiyorum.
So-
Kanser hücresi belki bize bir şey anlatıyor.
Maybe the
Bilmiyorum.
cancer cell has a story, has a message. You're right in a way, because like maybe or 10 years down the road, we might end up realizing that we all live with cancer. There's 74 billion cells in the human body, and every now and then, one or few of them throw a tantrum. And that's okay. It's all right. We don't see it because they stick us into a gadget to perform imagery every now and then. But we live with cancer. Our immune system is able to deal with it. But if we fall, if we are too poor, if you smoke a lot too much, and if you never exercise, right? And if you are too overweight, the risk of cancer multiplies.
Lütfen.
Zamanımız da azalıyor.
Evet, zaman-
Hızlı
Okay, we're
alalım
running
soruyu.
out of time.
Ne güzel panel oldu ya.
Is-
Böyle
Are you enjoying it?
Ben bir
I
şey
am.
söylemek istiyorum.
I have
Bana göre
something
kanser
to say.
tamamen psikolojik bir hastalık.
I believe that
Biyolojik
cancer
yönü
is to do
tamamen
with the
bizim
human
yaşadıklarımızın,
psychology.
bedenimizin
The biological
verdiği tepkilerden ibaret.
manifestation
güzel.
is due to
Hastaları
the
incelediğimiz
individual's
zaman
experience.
görürüz.
We know from cancer
Eee,
patients
hep bir depresif bir durum.
that there
ve
is,
yaşadıkları ağır geldiği için
trauma,
Vaktimiz az
depression.
diye lafı alıyorum senden. Çünkü
We haven't got the
Sen-
time, so I can't let
sorduğun
you
soru
talk.
aslında
The
işin
question that you
yümesine
raised
gidiyor.
is the
Hatta şöyle
essence.
söyleyeyim,
So much
Hipokrat
so that
var ya, her
um,
doktora Hipokrat diyor.
Yeminini yap.
Evet,
Hippocrates
400 sene önce şeyinde BC
in the
diyor ki,
year 400
dört
BC,
tane,
he said
diyor,
there are
hastalık
400
yapar insan
fluids that
vücudunda.
can
Bunlardan
cause
bir
an
tanesi de
ailment, one of
black
which he
bile,
says is the black
siyah
bile.
sıvı.
Okay, black
Bu hangi
bile
hastalıklara
is
veriyor
one of
biliyor
the
musun?
4
Siyah sıvı.
fluids that cause
tanesi
disease.
Beyin
Black bile
hastalıkları,
causes
depres-
brain
depresyon,
disease,
diğeri
mental
kanser.
illness such as
Niye
depression,
bulaştırıyor onu biliyor
and
musun?
also
Burası
cancer.
devirde,
Do you know
içeri
why it's
otopsiler
bile?
yapılamadığı için
Well, they
kanser
didn't
o
have
kadar büyük ki
autopsies
içeride,
in the
özellikle
year
göğüs kanseri
400
kadınlarda
BC.
patlıyor, simsiyah kan
Cancer
sınırlaşıyor,
would
tutuyor,
grow to such an
pıhtılaşıyor.
extent
O
that
yüzden
following
black
eruption,
bile deniyor.
black
Depression'ın yaptığı
fluid
doğru. Fakat tek cevap da o değil.
could be
Sigarayı
excised.
içtiğiniz zaman da
Well,
mutasyonlar her şeyi yapıyor. O da yani
smoking
kendiniz
causes
de-
a mutation, so there
Etraf
could be
da- etraf da
self-inflicted
yapıyor, beyin de yapıyor.
factors,
Dediğin doğru.
environmental,
Devamı
the
için
brain,
arada
but
Mehmet
also
abiye sıkıştırmak
environmental
istedim.
factors
Abi,
that can
çok az
cause the
zamanımız
mutation.
kaldı.
We
Size
haven't got a
sormak
lot
istediğim
of
çok
time.
özür
I'll
var.
turn to
Yani
you again.
böyle gün akışının,
And
yayın
thing
akışının,
is,
böyle
during your
saniyede değiştiği bir
broadcast,
yerde çalışıyorsunuz
like
aslında.
you're
Yani
actually,
sabah
you
bir şey
run a
oluyor,
TV
olay
channel,
değişiyor.
a news channel
gitmek
where
gerekiyor.
things can change
Siz de çok tez
instantaneously.
Ama böyle
And
durumlarda
you've
az
got to
önce
be on
Birleşik
top of
Kaplar
things,
örneğini
right?
de verdiniz.
Remember like
hava
the
basıncı
theory
eşiğine
of
kadar
compound
yapıyor.
containers,
Aynı hava
how
basıncına tabi
until
şeyler.
air
Siz
pressure
çalışanlarınızla
equalizes,
nasıl
right?
aynı
Just
noktada
so
kalabiliyorsunuz?
how can you
Bunu nasıl
stay in
yönetiyorsunuz?
tandem
Birlikte
with
koşarken
your
bir hedefe
team?
Birlikte dedin ya bitti işte. Ya birlikte
It's all
bir iş
about
yapılır
working
ya
together.
yapılmaz.
You know,
Ya
either you're
beraber
together
zafer
or you're
yapacaksınız
not.
ya olmaz.
Either
Şöyle diyebilirsiniz
you
mesela.
achieve
Yok
collectively
arkadaş, ben
or you
oturacağım,
don't.
kitap yazacağım.
You could
Ben
say, well,
bireysel
forget it.
takılacağım.
I'm
Biri
gonna
çay
go back,
getiriyor,
write a
benim
book
anneniz- Hepsi
and
bir
work
ekip.
all on
Hüseyin
my
bak tek
own.
başına o 100
But you
metreyi
still get
koşmuyor. Ben
support
geçen
from
gün
others,
seyrettim, hayranım
like the
adama.
person who
Ya da
gives you
Michael
tea or
Phelps,
your
o
mother.
bıraktı
Michael
yüzmeyi,
Phelps,
o dehşet
Usain Bolt,
rekorları tek
they
başına
never
denedi. Bir
ever
başına
achieved
çalışıyor
it
ama öyle değil.
unilaterally. They
Yani
might
o
have
Birleşik
performed
Kaplar
unilaterally, but they
teorisi.
they
Hep
get
birlikte
support,
bir
don't
takım
they?
gibi.
So it's
Başka
all
türlü
about
olmaz.
collective effort
Bunlar
as
gaz
a
verici
team.
laflar ama hayatta böyle.
It is
Değil
it
yani
is
gaz
like,
falan vermek değil. Ya
and you know
hep
what?
birlikte bir takım
It
olacaksınız
does give you a
ya
rush
da
of adrenaline,
olmayacaksınız.
but that's not what
Ayrıca
it's all
gün içinde
about.
karar vermek,
It's
şu
working
kadarını söyleyeyim.
collectively.
Bir takım kriz
And
anları olur. Hayatta da öyledir.
remember,
Misal
at
kız
points of
arkadaşınızla
crisis,
aşk yani.
for instance, love.
Krize düşersiniz.
Think about your lover.
Fakat
You enter
siz
a
krizi
moment of
yönetmezseniz
crisis. If you
kriz
don't
sizi yönetir.
manage, crisis
Siz
will
aşkı
outrule
yönetmezseniz
your
aşk
will.
sizi yönetir.
If
O
you
zaman
don't
bambaşka
manage,
yerlere
if you
gidilir
don't
filan.
conquer your love,
Dolayısıyla
love
bütün
will
bunlara
conquer you.
hazırlıklı olmak her zaman
And when that
antrenörler
happens,
var.
my goodness,
Ben onu öyle
God knows
başarılı
what could
falan,
follow
acayip
suit.
kutsandığı şeyleri falan sevmiyorum.
I don't
Başarılı
like
olun,
to
başarılı olun,
celebrate
başarılı olun.
success that
Çok önemli bir
much.
şey.
No,
Eğer istiyorsanız
no, you know, if
zaten
you want
olur,
to do it,
devam
it
eder.
will
O alet
happen.
olur.
Just
Bir
learn
şey
to
daha
work
söyleyeyim
together.
size. Bu konuşmalardan
Um,
bizden önce
and out of
ki
these
geçen
talks,
ilkileri de dinledim ya da
I've
birçok
actually listened to
organizasyonlarda
previous
işte
talks,
örnek alınacak
and there's
kişilerden
always
söz
like people
ediliyor. İşte
who are
kim
deemed
örnek
to
almak
be an
istersiniz? Acaba
example,
başarı
a
hikayeleri
role
mi
model.
önemli?
Is it like
Yoksa
all
örnek
about being
alacak kişiler mi?
successful, or is it human
Şöyle bir söz
virtue?
okudum, aklımda
I read
kaldığınca
a phrase
anlatmak
once.
istiyorum. Diyor ki örnek
It
aldığınız
says
kişi,
there
örneğin
that
Mehmet Hoca.
whoever you see as a role
Örneğin
model,
Sani abi
maybe him,
burada. Örneğin az önce
or
acayip
someone
bir
else,
konuşma yaptı Ali Koç.
or
Ve
maybe
bir sürü,
Ali Koç, I
birçok
don't know.
örneği var.
Like there are
Kutup yıldızı
so
gibi.
many. They're a bit like a polar
Siz
star.
Mehmet Hoca gibi tıpla, bilimle, mühendislikle uğraşmanız gerekmiyor ama baktığınız
You
zaman
don't need
size
to
nerede olduğunuzu
be
gösteriyor. Hiç
preoccupied
olmazsa
with
kendinize
science.
gelirsiniz. Dolayısıyla bütün bunlar
But
da önemli.
like
Başarı
celebrate
hikayeleri
their
de önemli ama
human
örnek alacak
virtues.
kişiler de. Ben inanıyorum.
Not just what they
Eğer
achieve
insanlar
materially.
inanırsa güzel
I believe
günler
it,
göreceğiz arkadaşlar.
and
Her zaman.
you know the future is bright.
Sizin
It's
konuşmayı
promising.
şöyle özetleyebiliriz
So long as you
aslında.
believe.
Yani bugün hayatımızın en güzel günü, yarınımız daha
Okay,
güzel
now
olacak
is the
diyorsunuz
best,
siz.
and you're
Ben
saying
hani
the future will be
konuşmanızdan onu
even
çıkartıyorum.
better.
Abi siz de
This is what I
faydalı
would
bilim
deduce from
yapmanın
your
ne kadar
talk.
önemli
And
olduğunu
you've
aslında söylüyorsunuz. Orada bir,
reinstated once again
kalpte
that
huzur,
science
yeşil,
is
peace
what
at
matters
heart,
a lot.
green at hand anlatıyoruz. Yani
Kind
bugün
in the heart,
aslında biz böyle
peace at
çok,
hand.
küçük bir
And
seansta,
well, yes,
bizim
this
YGA
was a
bölümlerinin
rather
üzerinde
small scale
gördüğümüz yazıyı size aktarmaya
session,
çalıştık.
but we tried our
Bilgeler
best
birleştirir,
to deliver this
cahiller
knowledge
ayrıştırır.
how wise men
Yani hani
bring
kişi
people
aslında
together, and how the
Mehmet abi
ignorant
az önce söyledi,
fool divide
kalbiyle
people.
sorgulayıp
And he said
hakikati
it,
arayan
it's
kişidir. Biz
the
aslında
person
iki bilge
who
kişiyi ağırladık
questions
bugün.
with their heart
Abi size de geldiğiniz için,
and who
bizimle olduğunuz için çok
consolidates or
teşekkürler.
Siz
unifies
kendinize
through
inanın,
knowledge.
herkes size
Trust
inanır
yourself.
Çok
Have
sağ olun.
have faith in
Teşekkürler.
yourself,
Böyle geçelim.
and then others will have faith in you too.
Ederiz. Evet abi.
Thank you.
Ee, evet. YGA'da
Okay.
bu ilkler nasıl
Um,
ortaya çıkıyor? Bence burada
how
biraz
is
önce
it
onun
that
çok güzel bir örneğini
this
yaşadık. Böyle
emerges?
YGA
Like
toplantılarını
earlier on,
canlandırdılar.
and like
Böyle
they
herkes heyecanla
they almost like acted it
şey yapıyor
out,
ama birbirleri
where
üzerine de
people
kat
were
çıkıyor. Kimse fikrini
really
ısrar etmiyor. Bir şey söylüyor. Ya
enthusiastic,
ben bir
and
soru
they were
sorabilir miyim diyor.
nobody
Cihan oradan
tried
bir
to
bağ
rule the
kuruyor.
argument.
YGA'nın o kat üstüne
They
kat çıkma
connected
örneğini
the
biraz önce
dots.
çok güzel yaşadık.
And
Şimdi bu konuşmada da aslında bahsedildi. Hayali
conversation,
olanlar var.
built into a
Ona
story.
sıkı sıkı sarılıyorlar.
Some people
Kendi
have
bencil
a dream.
çıkarlarına. O daha hızlı ve daha çabuk oraya
sometimes
götürebilecek
you might
başka bir
get
şeyin
too
hayal ortası olmakta
selfish.
zorlanıyorlar. O kanser hücresi
It's a
gibi.
bit like the
Şimdi
cancer
davet
cell.
edeceğim kişi
The person I'd like to invite now
iki tane özelliği var bizim için.
has
Birincisi
two
hayal
peculiar
ortağı olabilme
qualities.
kabiliyetinin çok yüksek olması.
person
İkincisi de
has an
hızı.
incredible
Biz bu
ability
bilim
to become a
projesine
dream
başlarken
partner.
abi
also
dedik
the
biz
pace.
bilimle ilgili bir
We
şeyler
set
yapmak
out on
istiyoruz.
this
İlk de böyle bilim
science
seti
project and we're saying
geliştireceğiz ve
we
bunu
need to
da
do something about
çocuklarla seansını
science.
yapmak istiyoruz.
And we want to
Çok güzel olur dedi. Bizim
introduce
Tonya'da
like a science
başlayalım
toolkit.
Trabzon'da
He
ilk
said
biz
let's
destek
set
verelim.
out in Tonya. Why
Sonrasında
not
abi
be
bilim
the
deneyin
first
bunu daha büyük
province
kitlelere
to
yaymak istiyoruz
sponsor
dedi.
the initiative in
Tamam dedi.
Trabzon?
Hemen
He was
yapalım.
willing to spread it out.
Bilim müzesi
The
hani en
Science
son teknolojiler
Museum
orada
is like,
sergilensin.
why not
Gençler oraya gelip onu
display
tecrübe
the best
edebilsinler.
and the newest technology?
Verdiği cevabı zaten tahmin ediyorsunuzdur.
You might be able to
Hayal
guess
orta
how he
olabilen bir hayal ortağımız,
responded.
önümüzü açan bir hayal ortağımız.
So he is a dream
YGA'ya hızlı
partner.
diyor ama
He
hız
says
konusunda
that
kendisiyle
YGA
yarışamayız.
is
Hemen
fast,
aksiyona geçme, harekete
but
geçme
he's
noktasında
as
Ama onun
fast
bir
as you
avantajı var.
possibly
Kendisi
can get.
Karadenizli.
He's
Şimdi ona
original
özgü
wise.
bir
He's
şekilde
from the
davet
Black
etmek
Sea.
istiyorum.
I'd like to introduce him in a
YGA'nın
rather
ortağı, TAV'ın
original
CEO'su
manner.
Sani Şener.
Sani Şener, who's the CEO at TAV.
Evet, Sani abi hoş geldiniz. Esat.
Herkese merhabalar diliyorum.
Thank you.
YGA ile
Good
tanışıklığımız 5
afternoon.
sene öncesine gidiyor.
It's been 5 years that we've met with YGA, and we've really supported them strongly. We became a dream partner, and it's a source of pride for us. Because, as you know, in Turkey, the young people, I mean, the population lower than 30 years of age, is 60% of the entire population. That is an opportunity, but if we can't find employment to you, then it's going to be a disadvantage. And to create jobs, we need to support entrepreneurship, and we need to have good human resources. To have good human resources, you need science. What is science? In general, science is like 13 billion years ago, there was an explosion, a big bang, and matter, energy, space, and time have emerged. And physics deal with this part of science. And 3,400 years later, the world starts to cool off, and atoms emerged, and the science that deals with this is quantum physics. And then the atoms formed molecules, and chemistry deals with that part of the science. And these molecules have turned into organisms, and the science that deals with this is biology. And among all these sciences, there is mathematics that connects all of them together. Maths ensure the communication between these sciences. Communication is so important. Just like Mehmet said, this cancer detection equipment, he talked about the importance of fluids. I'm a mechanical engineer. I did my master's degree in Sussex University on fluids. Mechanisms. So just like the fluids running in our veins. So genetic engineering, mechanical engineering, and biologists, they work together, because that's what the world requires from now on. People will not say anymore, this is my profession, because there's huge big data around, and I don't use this word big data. I would rather call it smart data, and smart data is what matters. We need to pursue smart data to ensure communication. Now, we're in the business of airports. In 17 countries, we're operating 76 airports. We're the largest airport construction company, and together with our partner, we're the largest airport operator company. We are in 17 countries. We deal with the commercial code of these 17 countries, labor code of those 17 countries, civil aviation offices, ministers, governments of those 17 countries. And this is a highly complex business, and we do this through communication. Communication is so critical that from now on, you will not be able to say, like, between the ages of 18 to 22, I studied in this department of that university. It doesn't exist anymore. I mean, okay, there are very reputable universities like Boğaziçi, Istanbul Technical University, Koç, Hacettepe, etc. But just because of the fact that you graduate from those universities, you will not be so different from the students who graduate from the Anatolian universities, for instance, because your diplomas will be valid for 4 years. After the 4th year, it really doesn't matter how reputable reputable your university was. We have 50,000 employees at TAV. And what matters for us is what you do after you become the student of life. I mean, between the ages of 18 to 20, you may go to a university, but the name of that department or the name of the university you graduated from will not affect continuously your 40 years of career. You need to develop yourself constantly. You need to improve yourself. You need to adapt yourself to the changes in the world. How are you going to do this? An Indian mathematician says that if you graduated from a history department or law department or engineering, those are all neurons in your brains. And let's say that they are red. So your area of expertise is red. If you develop constantly that area, the number of reds in your brain will proliferate. But in order to make innovation, in order to be creative, in order to develop yourself, you need to have other colors. For instance, if you're an engineer, you have to read about history. You need to deal with art. You need to play a musical instrument, because all of these will create different colored neurons in your brain, and then these brains communicate with one another, and amazing ideas are born this way. So, about communication, let me tell you an anecdote of mine. We were in Atatürk airport, and there were two runways. One goes towards Ataköy, the other one runs towards the sea, Sefaköy. And the planes land inside the wind, and your back wind is very important. If it's over 10 knots, you have to change the direction of the plane. And what our problem was 10 years ago, when you're landing over Ataköy, the taking off plane should take off towards the Marmara Sea. But if they pass, they might collide. So that's why the distance between them would be as less as 8 miles. So we were landing and taking off 650 planes. That was a very big problem. The planes were waiting on the taxi drive. They were waiting on the air. And as you know, tower is responsible for the air traffic control. So the tower and us and the state airports management, we got together. And we were the CEOs discussing the topic. I said, this is not possible. We have to bring in the pilots and the tower officials so that they can speak to one another and solve the issue. And that's what we did in a meeting. And the captain pilot said, you know, when the back wind is 20 knots, I mean, I land with 20 knots to other airports. Why do I have to do it with 10 knots to Atatürk Airport? The tower said that's an old rule, so let's change it. And they changed it. And that was as simple as that. And now now it's possible to land. I mean, we land 1,500 planes to the airport. There has been no additional runways, nothing. But now we can land 1,500 planes. Thanks to communication, thanks to conversation. So what I want to tell you is, don't be stuck with the department you graduate from. Try to know everything that is possible. And information is so accessible. I mean, 2 years of your 4-year university, you take the same lessons, and then for 2 years you learn your profession. But don't please shape your future based on these. And I visit a lot of Anatolian universities or universities based in Anatolia, and I make this speech to them. I'm from the Black Sea region. We had an employee from Trabzon. When that employee entered Boğaziçi University, He goes to the university and he comes back to Trabzon for a vacation. And he's sitting in a cafe and everyone is asking, what do you study? Where do you study? In Boğaziçi University. And what do you do? International relations. And the man in the cafe said, oh, you're doing logistics, transportation. So what I'm trying to say is, of course, if you have won a reputable university, you're also very successful. But that's not a given for success. The fact that you graduate from the most popular universities will not necessarily bring you success. Anyway, you know, I told you that Big Bang created the matter, space, time. Well, time is the only thing that God has given us equally, distributed it equally among us. And we have divided it into 365 days. In fact, what happens is the sun rises and sun comes down. And in between these two, we have to manage our time. But in fact, it's not about time management. It's about energy management. It's about how you manage your energy, and also it's about catching the time. What does it mean, catching the time? There was a research. The most rich people in the world, since the establishment of the world, I mean, Cleopatra is the 21,000th richest person in the world. Apart from that, most of them are Americans, and either they were born in 1834, 1835, like Rockefellers, J.P. Morgans, Andrew Carnegie's, and when they were in 30, they quote the Industrial Revolution, when the steam train was innovated, etc. And then the second class are the ones that are born in 1955, 1956, like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, etc. And when they were around their 30s, individual computers were discovered, so they were smart, and they established the biggest companies of the world. So there has been 3 industrial revolutions in the history. The first one was the first one when we discovered the steam engines, when we switched from the muscle power to mechanical power. The second one is electricity. And the third one is the computer revolution. And the fourth one is digitalization. And you are able to catch that revolution. And Tav also caught the opportunity it was faced when Atatürk Airport was when the tender for operating the Atatürk Airport was announced. We didn't know how to operate an airport, but we wanted to bid for it. And we bid and we were awarded. I mean, you do the construction and then you are given the right to operate the airport. We said 3 years and 8 months we're gonna construct the airport. And we won the tender with like 10 days difference with our closest competitor. And we did what we have did until now. Amazing accomplishments. How? Thanks to our human resources. Because human resources is the most important asset we have. That's why I value Young Guru Academy. At TAV, we have 3 groups. We have the A team. They dress very well. They have the best relationships. They know the best companies around the world and their executives. They know where to dine. Their relations are very strong. They're smart, hardworking. Their social intelligence is very high. That's the A team. And then we have the gold collars. Gold collars are the ones who did their PhDs, masters, who have very high IQs, who do research and development. They're the gold collar workers. And then there are the Indian Indians. The Indians are the ones who work 24 hours in our construction sites or who work in our airports for 24/7. One of the Indians, for instance, is in Dubai. Maybe you visited Dubai. Our project manager in Dubai, because we were awarded to operate the Fizan airport. And I want to send this guy as a project manager. And we called him. And he was quite scared that I called him. And anyway, he came. We invited him to a nice restaurant dinner. And I said, I'm going to take you from Dubai. And he said, why? Did I do something wrong? I said, no, but I'm going to send you to Fizan. And then he asked, what is Fizan? Little bit over Tripoli. In fact, it is 1,000 kilometers away from Tripoli. It's in the Sahara Desert. And 3 days later, from Dubai, he was sent to Fizan, to Libya. And then the public riot started. And our people had to leave the airport immediately. And once they asked me what does it mean to be leadership, and I said there were 4,000 workers we had there and engineers, and I went there personally to bring people in. We rented a ferry from Italy. We saved many people, and this is what leadership is about. And most of the time, leadership is about managing the forest, and but you can't manage a forest if you don't know the trees in that forest. So, in fact, this intellectual capital that we have as the human resources is what we trust to. The value of our company is $2 billion, but we don't hold any assets. We don't have any land. We don't have any buildings. The buildings that we have in Esenboğa, Atatürk Airport, Bodrum Airport, or all the other buildings of those airports, they belong to the states, because what we do is build, operate, and transfer. But our physical capital, our fixed assets is zero. Even our cars are rented cars, leased cars. But our intellectual capital and our social capital are very strong. You are this intellectual capital. You are our network. So thanks to this network and capital, we are valued at $2 billion, which shows that social intellectual capital is more valuable than fixed assets. And we talk about entrepreneurship. What will you become? Will you either work in the public sector, you're going to become academicians, or you're going to work in the private sector, or you're going to be an entrepreneur? Entrepreneurship is very important, especially in countries like Turkey, where young population is the majority. We have to make sure that there are a lot of entrepreneurs, and we have to be supporting the entrepreneurs. That's what YGA is doing as well. With the support of organizations like us, they are supporting entrepreneurs. And an entrepreneur is someone who thinks of an idea that has never been thought before and who has the means to commercialize it. But you should never imitate, you should never copy, then you're doomed to fail. But if you have thought about an idea that has never been thought before, then you'll be successful. And if you can make use of this smart data, and if a light is there in your mind, and if you can think of something that was not thought before, and if you have the courage to pursue that idea and to commercialize it, then you're an entrepreneur. So when we were awarded the operation of Atatürk Airport, we were also awarded the Esenboğa Airport, because if you're a pioneer in your industry, you're always going to make a lot of money, but it's going to be challenging for sure. And before us, the only airport that was privatized was Heathrow. We were the second. So we got the operations, but we didn't have any money. And we
diğer borcu kredilerle
It
alıyoruz ama
found
450
loans
milyon
of
borç var.
$450 million. That was a huge amount. So we thought what we should do. We said let's go for a public offering. And back then, I remember Reuters came, and I told them we're gonna go public. And
Herald Tribüne'de
and then
bu kadar ama.
it was a small news that appeared on Herald Tribune. And I remember someone from Bahrain called Mümtaz Khan called me. And he said, I want to buy shares from your company. And I said, why? He said, we're a private fund. I didn't understand what a fund was. And he said, we're going to invest in your company, and then you're going to go public. And then he realized that I didn't understand it. And then he said, I'm going to come and explain to you in Turkey. So he came for a meeting. We understood what he meant. And I said $75 million for 75%. Sorry, for 5%. Why? He said. I said, because we value our market cap is $1.5 million. What if it's not? He said. Well, then I'm going to give you more shares. So we have sold him 5% of the shares. We did the agreement, and they sent us $75 million in like 15 days, and we were so happy, so delighted. I said, we should do one more. And we did one more, and another $75 million came from Kuwait, and then we sold to an Australian fund another 5%. This was before the 2008 crisis. I mean, dollars were raining, and so we were left with 225, and Goldman Sachs came because we were out there in the market, and Goldman Sachs asked, what's going on here? We said, well, this is what's going on here. They said, if they bought, we're gonna buy as well. 15% went to Goldman Sachs, and $450 million, and we went public. We cleaned the company. We did the public offering. We went around the world, and we promoted our company. Because what's an entrepreneur should do is should be able to explain their company, market their company very well. We did a road show. We toured the world in 15 days, and we talked about our company to the funds who had the capacity to fund us. So we were talking about the airport. This is how much we're going to spend to duty free. This is how much we get from the airline companies. This is the revenues from our commercials, etc. So, by the way, they were also looking for funds, the London airport. And there was this group who bought a graveyard in London, and they were also doing public offering for their graveyard company, and they were saying, our graveyard is large, this year many people will die because there will be floods, etc. So they were promoting their graveyard company. So it's all about telling your story the best way possible, communication. And if your heart sings, life will ask you for a dance. Definitely, absolutely. If you're happy, you will definitely be successful. It's not like you have to be successful and then happy. First, you need to be happy, positive, and then you're gonna be successful. If you turn your back to the sun, all the shadows will be at the front. Just turn towards the sun and leave the shadows behind. Thank you.
Sani abi,
Thank you very much, Sani. We have a surprise for you.
enerjisini anlatan bir kapanış
We need a closing that will really describe the energy of Sami.
orada bir ekip var abi. Teşekkür ederiz.
şarkı
This song is of course from the Black Sea region. Kazım Koyuncu used to sing this song. He died of cancer at a very early age, and we talked about cancer the previous session, but in his concert he used to say, it's cancer or concert, doesn't matter.
Sahne abi anlatmak için o kadar söz söyledim. Keşke
I've made a very long introduction to introduce Sami. I wish I just played the music. Well, more than half of this room is girls, and 40% of them want to become entrepreneurs. So now we're going to invite a role model women entrepreneur who graduated from 9 Eylül University, then started working in the YGA office. She was leading the project for the visually impaired, and then she's one of the founding partners of Piri. I would like to now invite her to the stage.
Teşekkürler Sadık. Bugün aranızda çok uluslu
Thank you,
şirketlerde
Sadık.
üst düzey yöneticilik yapmayı hayal edenleriniz var.
I
Ya
know
da
there are
kendi
people
şirketini kurup
dreaming
başarı
of a
hikayesi
leadership
yaratıp
role in
girişimci
a
olmak
multinational,
isteyenleriniz var.
and
Hatta
also
size bir anket
some of you
gönderdik zirveden önce.
dreaming
Sadık
to
da az
set
önce
up your own
bahsetti aslında.
businesses.
Mezuniyetten
We sent
ekrana
out a
verebilir
questionnaire.
miyiz? Mezuniyetten
Can we
önce
have this
ne yapmak
project, please?
istiyorsunuz? Mezuniyetten sonra ne
Like,
yapmak
what do you
istiyorsunuz
want to
diye
do when
sorduk.
you come out of school?
Çok büyük
And
oranda girişimci
most
olmak
of
ve
you
çok uluslu bir
actually
şirkette
want to
yönetici
set up
olmak
their own
cevapları
business,
geldi.
or you want to
Birazdan
join
başlayacak sohbette her iki grubun da kendine alacak çok
corporation,
fazla reçete var.
in an
Çünkü
executive
davet edeceğim
role.
isimlerden bir
There are
tanesi
plenty of
Ahmet Bozer.
prescriptions. Ahmet
abi
Bozer is the
ODTÜ'den
first
mezun oldu.
to introduce.
Amerika'da yüksek
He
lisans
studied
yaptı.
at the Middle
Pek
Eastern
çok denetim
Technical
ve
School,
danışmanlık
then
sektöründe
later went on to
yöneticilik
study in
tecrübeleri
North
oldu.
America. He
1990
has
yılında
vast
Coca-Cola'da başlayan
experience
serüveninde çok önemli seviyelere geldi.
in terms of
Çok önemli seviyeler diyorum.
executive
Dünya Başkan
responsibility.
Yardımcılığından bahsediyorum.
He
93 tane ülkenin kendisine bağlı olduğu
He
bir
ultimately
sorumluluktu bu.
was responsible for 93 different markets.
Devam ediyor.
He's still
Kendisinin gerçekten
advising multiple
imrenilecek
corporations
bir kariyer
worldwide.
yolculuğu var.
So,
Diğer tarafta
yeah.
davet edeceğim isim Erden Timur.
and
Erden abi
Timur is
aslen
another.
hukuk mezunu.
He
Mezuniyetten
studied
sonra
law,
eğitim için Londra'ya gitti.
then went on
Türkiye'ye
to
döndü.
study in
2009
London.
yılında daha
In
önce hiç
2009,
deneyimi olmayan bir sektörde
he set up
inovatif
a
bir
business,
model kurdu. Bu
an
modelin
innovative
sonucunda da aslında
model
Nef
where
markası
he
doğdu.
had no prior
Nef markası o
experience
kadar
in
hızlı
the
büyüdü ki
Nef
Türkiye
construction, and
tarihinin
it grew so fast
en kısa sürede
that
1
it
milyar euroya
became
ulaşan şirketi oldu.
the
Peki çok güzel.
company to achieve
Erden abi,
$1 billion
Ahmet abi.
in revenue
Aslında baktığımızda
in the
onlar gibi
shortest
pek çok
time
başarılı iş
possible.
insanı var. Pek çok başarılı
There are so
girişimci
many
var.
more
Bugün neden
like them.
Başkalarını değil de
But why did
ikisini
we
dinliyoruz?
choose them?
Onların
Why are
farkları
we
ne?
listening to them?
Farkları
And what
şu,
makes them so
ileri
special?
giderken kalplerini bırakmadılar.
Because like
Şeytanla işbirliği
um,
yapmadan başarılı olamazsın diye bir put vardı. Onlar o putu yıktılar. Bu ne
they're not
demek
the
yani
devil's
başarılarına
advocate.
vicdanlarını
Not
kattılar.
at all.
Bu vicdanlı başarı
For them,
yolculuklarında
it
neler
matters
yaşadılar,
equally to be
neler
a nice
öğrendiler
person,
ve hala yaşamayı öğrenmeye
also
devam
to be
ediyorlar.
and the same
Birazdan
as being
sohbetten bunları
materially
öğreneceğiz.
successful.
O yüzden
Okay.
sevgili hayal ortaklarımız
Right.
Erden abi ve Ahmet
Erden
abiyi sahneye
and
davet
Ahmet,
ediyorum.
will you kindly proceed?
Evet.
Daha deminki panel çok şeydi. Erdoğan Beylerin. Şimdi biz oraya geçmeyi planlıyoruz. O yüzden.
Tekrar hoş geldiniz.
Horon yapacağız.
Evet, horon.
Tedbircilik serçerim. Öyle değil
Ayakta
mi?
mı başlamak istersiniz? Nasıl
Would you
yapalım?
like to be standing up or would you like to sit down?
Tamam değişik. Ben oturarak başlıyorum.
All right. So if you don't mind, I'll sit down. Okay.
Ahmet abi isterseniz sizinle başlayalım.
Okay. All right. So I turn to you. Let's start off with you.
Çok sevdiğimiz bir söz var.
there's a popular
enerjisini, zamanını ve
saying
bilgisini yöneten
that
insanlar
people who
dünyayı
manage their
yönetirler
energy,
diye.
time,
Bizim de tanıdığımız
and
yani dünyanın en
knowledge
önemli
will be able
şirketlerinden
to
bir
manage,
tanesinde çok
will be able
önemli
to run the
pozisyonlarda
world.
çalıştınız. Ve
You've
bizim
had
gördüğümüz
extensive
bu işi en iyi
experience,
yapan aile ortağımızsınız. Yani açık ara
and
birincisiniz.
you're like number
Düzenli
one in
uyguladığınız
terms
bir
of
reçeteniz var mı?
the
Bize
magnitude of
tavsiye
your
edebileceğiniz,
experience.
bizim alıp
Do you have
hayatımıza
like a
uygulayabileceğimiz.
prescription?
Önce galiba biraz heyecanlı olduğumuz anlaşıldığı karşılık olarak.
So you can tell that we're rather
Çok
nervous
uzatmadan
up here.
hayatta uygulayacağınız reçetelerin temelinde bir takım felsefeler olması lazım.
Ultimately, there must be
Bana
an
da böyle birisi
underlying
reçete
philosophy.
sorduğu zaman ille onun
And
temelindeki felsefeyi
every time they
anlatırım.
ask me
Şimdi tabii
a
telefonu içeride
prescription,
bıraktık
I
ama
say,
hep
well,
telefonu örnek
there
gösteriyorum.
has to be an underlying philosophy.
Telefonunuza
It's a bit like
belirli
your phone.
şekilde bastığınız
So
zaman o
if you
telefon
were to tap
belirli
your phone
şekilde
in a
işler
certain
yapıyor.
way, that
Bu hep
phone
aynı.
does
Ne
certain
yaparsanız
things.
aynı şeyi yapıyor. Bu telefonun
And there's
performansının
reproducibility.
en üst düzeyde olması için
And for the phone to work
o
well,
sistemin olması lazım.
you need
En iyi
the
performansı
operating
yaratacak
system.
sistemin olması lazım.
You need a
Şimdi biz insan
system
olarak
that can work well.
makine olmayabiliriz.
Human beings
Ama
are not
bizim
machines,
de sistemlerimizin olması
but we've got systems in place.
doğruluğuna inanıyorum.
We need to have systems in place.
Kişisel performans sistemi diyorum ben burada.
And I call it the individual
Örnek vermek
performance
gerekirse
system
e,
or operating system.
nasıl bir şirket
For example, it's
performansını
take a
planlarken
company that
uzun
has
vadeli
to
plan
manage,
yapar, yıllık plan
that
yapar.
has to plan for the
Bunları
long
böyle
term
çok bürokratik
or
hale
on an
gelmeden
annual
size bir anlam
basis.
ifade edecek şekilde. Haftalık değerlendirme yapar, günlük
And then there
değerlendirme
might
yapar,
be like
tekrar
a
planını
weekly
değiştirir.
or daily assessment. You
İnsana
can
da
go
bu
back and
adapte
plan
edilebilir
again.
diye düşündüm ben hep.
More or less the
Onun
same
için de
can
bir
be
kendi
adaptable
kişisel performans
at an
sistemim
individual
var. Ama
level.
insanı
So
makineden ayıran,
and
makine
again, what
sistemi çok
sets
bir
you
kere
apart
iki
from a
dert.
machine,
Bizim
a
hem
machine
sistemimiz
is
olacak,
um,
hem esnekliğimiz
it's
olacak.
bland.
Yani
We've
bu
got to
ikisini
have a system,
bir
but
arada
we must
götürdüğümüz bir şey.
never
Örnek
ever
vermek gerekirse,
become rigid.
sene biter,
Like once the year is
bir
over,
kere bu sistemin içinde kendinize düşünme zamanı ayırmak
you
çok
must
çok önemli.
always leave
Ne
time for
geçirdiniz,
reflection.
neler atlattınız o sene, neleri başardınız, neleri başaramadınız. Bu
What
gelecek
went
sene
well,
için ne demek gibi
what
muhasebe,
went less well,
sene sonu
and
muhasebesi.
what are some of the
Her pazar
lessons
günü,
learned for the next year.
Şu ana kadar
And every Sunday,
emekliyiz resmi olarak ama
I've retired
emeklilik öncesi
officially,
kadar bir çalışma temposu var.
but I work just as
Bu
hard.
dönemin dahil her
So
pazar
every
bittiğinde
Sunday,
haftalık plan çıkmıştır.
I have
ben
like
böyle
a
onu
weekly
arşive atarım.
plan.
Sonra
Okay?
bakarım her pazar
And
tamam
then I
değil mi
look
diye.
back just to
Birazcık
make
fazla
sure.
benimki o kadar yapmam.
Mine is a bit, I'm a bit OCD, don't
Bu
go so
tarz
far.
bir sistem olduğu zaman o zaman zamanı da daha bilinçli
And that
kullanabiliyoruz.
just makes you
Anlat abi bu
work
söylediğinizi biz
more
paylaşmak istiyorum
time
herkesle.
prudently.
Bu reçeteyi biz YGA'da
Okay, so
bütün
this
tam zamanlı
prescription-
çalışan profesyonel şekilde 50 kişiyle birlikte yapıyoruz.
We
Bize
do this,
kazandırdığınız en önemli
50
reçetelerden
of
bir
us.
tanesi.
It's one of the
Her
best
pazar haftayı
prescriptions.
değerlendirme. Yani
So
haftayı değerlendirme
every
dediğimiz işte
Sunday
geçtiğimiz
we do
haftanın
like a weekly
toplantıları neydi,
assessment.
öncelikleri neydi,
What were the
hedefleri neydi
sessions,
ve
what were the
gerçekleşen ne oldu?
priorities,
Önümüzdeki
and
hafta aynı
what
şekilde.
was
Ama bunun
realized, and
da
also
belirtilen
next
şey şu,
week. The one thing that I'm
geçtiğimiz
most
hafta
impressed
nasıldım?
with is
Halim nasıldı?
how was
Enerjim
I last
nasıldı?
week?
Pozitif miydim?
Mood,
Negatif
energy,
miydim?
was I
Şikayet
up,
halinde
was I
miydim?
down,
Şükür
was
halinde
I
miydim?
grumpy, or
Bunları da
was I
kaydetmek aslında her
grateful?
hafta bizim kendi içimizdeki gelişimimizi
And
sağlıyor.
that also helps
Evet, şimdi tabii
foster
bu böyle
development.
planlamayı bir tek işle ilgili de düşünmemek lazım.
You know, you
tümünü
don't just
düşünmek
plan for
gerekiyor.
work, you plan for
Hayatın,
your whole life.
Tümünde de önce içten başlamak
And
lazım.
likewise, you have to
Yani
start
benim
from within.
kendi dışımda almak
For
istediğim bir
example,
sonucu alıp almamamı düşünmem bir şey.
It's a,
Ama
I don't
kendi
just need to
performansımla ilgili içime
think
dönüp
about external results,
ben,
but I also need to think about myself
doğru muydum
deep down.
değerlendirmesini.
And
Bunu her
think,
hafta
well,
yapamayabilir insan. Bunu bir
was
takım
that
sıkıntılar
right?
yaşadığında yapabilir ama
Maybe you can't do that
Tülin'in
every
de
day,
bahsettiği
every
gibi
week.
İngilizcesiyle 3 tane P diye ona
It's
isim
the
koydum.
3P.
Birinci P'nin Türkçesi de
The
P,
first
positivity.
P is positivity.
Üretkenlik. Yani zamanı iyi
productivity.
kullandın mı? Hakikaten
Make
her
sure
anında
you use
ürettin
time
mi?
well.
Productivity.
Was I productive all around?
Daha uzun vadeli
And
düşünebilmeniz
also,
için
for you to be able
progress,
to
yani
think in the long
ilerleyebildim mi?
term,
Benim
you
böyle
need to
önümde,
think if
ne
you're
bileyim, biraz daha
progressing
uzun
or not.
vadeli bir hedef var da bu hafta ve geçen hafta yaptıklarımla ona doğru ilerleme
Like what
kaydettim
you
mi?
did this week
Yoksa
and
yerinde
last
mi
week,
saydım?
did it
Bunları
contribute?
kafamdan geçirir.
Or are you
değerlendirir.
maybe in a whirlpool?
Bu da çok yararlı
Or
bir
in a
süreç
wheel
olduğunu
spin?
gördüm. Çünkü o zaman
I think that
bir tek
works
iş değil,
also.
bütün hayatınızı o hafta içinde
Hence,
düşündüğünüz zaman
you think of,
ileriye
you
dönük
know,
olarak da
you
plan
think of the
yaparken bir
week.
tek iş değil, bütün
So
hayatınızı göz
you
önüne
can
alıyor.
plan ahead. Erda abi buradan size dönmek istiyorum.
Let me
Sizin
turn to
nasıl
you.
hafta
How do you
planlama?
do things?
Soruyu bana sormayacağım.
O yüzden
You weren't meant to ask this question
Ben
to
de
me.
geçen hafta, yani bu geçtiğimiz pazar,
Okay, so last
önümüzdeki haftamı
Sunday,
cumartesi
I thought, well, why don't I plan for next week? I thought about this on a Saturday,
sonra çocukla
and
oynayayım,
then-
sonra şunu yapayım, bunu yapayım.
and I thought, well,
Nitekim
I'm gonna
yapmadım.
go play with the kids, so I didn't.
Böyle tüm hafta
And the whole week.
gitti. Ben burada size
Went down
şunu
the
söyleyebilirim arkadaşlar.
So the thing is,
Ee,
guys,
Bu kavram bana siz
this
anlatırken öz
while you're
saygıyı,
presenting,
his,
it
bir anda onu
reminds me
çağrıştırıyor
of
diyeyim. Yani şöyle bir şey,
self-respect.
çünkü yetenekli olduğumuz konularda genelde ben mesela
Where we're
zamanı yönetmek
talented.
konusunda rezalet bir insanım.
I'm awful when it comes to time
Bilgiyi
management.
yönetmek orada da başarısız olduğumu
I'm
düşünüyorum.
also not good with
Enerjiyle açığı kapatmaya
information,
çalışıyorum.
but
Hakikaten
I've got
şey bu.
enough energy
Genelde de hepimiz
to
öyle
make
yaparız
up
ya,
for it.
yetenekli olduğumuz konularda
So where you're good at something, what you tend to do
yani
is
o zaten doğal olarak
you take it for
şey yaptığı için
granted.
şöyle bir örnekten
So,
vereyim. Mesela
Again,
sınav,
here's
ders,
another example.
iyi bildiğimiz dersler veya
If
yetenekli
you
olduğumuz dersler
some
son günde halletmeye
subjects
çalışırız. Yani
you're
orada bir
okay with,
yönetsel bir şey
so you only need to
Halbuki
revise for
öz
one
saygı
day. But
aslında
self-respect
şunu, o
is
yetenek bize bahşedildiği için yani bizden
because
o
that
özellik
talent is
bizden
there. It's a
kaynaklanmadığı için
blessing.
ben hep bunu şey diye daha demin yani konuşmasında Sinan abi de değindi, bu çalışkanın tembele borcu var. Yani hepimiz
It's
kabul
the
ediyoruz ya
hardworking
zenginin
people that
fakire
owes
borcu.
it to the ignorant,
oradan yola
or
çıkarak
the rich
herkesin
owing it to
aslında
the poor.
akıllının akılsıza
So
borcu var.
if you're smart, you owe it
Çalışkanın
to
tembeli
the
derken
less
yani
smart.
çalışkanlık böyle çok kendi özelliğimiz gibi hissedilir.
So we think
O
that
yüzden oradan
being a
anlatmak istiyorum.
hardworking person
Halbuki
is
iki kardeşim,
one's
birisi
unique
çalışkan,
element.
birisi tembel
But you
bu
might have
arkadaşlar.
siblings.
Çalışkan olmak için
One is hardworking and
hiçbirimiz
the other one is
yani
less so.
çocukken amuda
Like to
kalkıp
become
takla atmıyoruz.
academically
Bizden
oriented,
kaynaklı
we
olmadık
don't
bir
need to do
şekilde
a
bir çalışkan
somersault.
oluyoruz.
So either we have it or we don't.
O kısımda biz kendi özelliğimiz olan yerlerde öz saygımızı kavrarsak yani bu
But if
bizden
we have like
kaynaklanmıyor, bize
self-esteem or
bahşedilmiş. O yüzden
self-respect,
bahşedene
and if
saygı
we
duyalım
know that we need
dediğimizde
to
o da öz
respect
disipline götürüyor
the
insanı.
person
Yine
who
bende eksik
bestowed
olan bir
it,
şeydir mesela.
then
Böyle
you end up
şeyleri
with
iyi anlattığınız
self-discipline.
zaman böyle bir çırpıda hep kendinize anlattığınız için aslında bunu da öyle görün arkadaşlar. Konuşan kendine konuşur. Hep özümüze konuşmaya çalışıyor.
And when you're talking about these things, it's always talking
öğreten
about
de,
your own
öğrenen de,
essence.
öğrenmeye
The
çalışan da
learning,
biz
the
bu
learner,
konuştuklarımın
the
keşke
teacher are
çeyreği
still us.
olabilsem.
I wish
Erda
I
abi,
could
buradan
walk
bir
the
şey sormak
talk.
istiyorum izninizle. Bu
Go
bahşedilen
ahead.
özellikler dediniz
So
ya.
these are
yani
skills that we
size
are
de
bestowed
bahşedilen
with.
özellikler var ve bu
Skills
kadar
that you
hızlı,
have
bu
been
kadar
bestowed
başarıda mutlaka
So,
onlar rolü oynadı.
no
Onlar
doubt,
neler yani
they were
siz neyi farklı
instrumental for
yaptınız, size
achieving
bahşedilmiş
so much so
özelliklerle?
quickly.
Yani
What did you
şey
do
algılıyorum.
What did you do differently?
sebebi ne diye düşündüm. Yani şu tek bir yani
This
neye
is it.
borçluyuz, neye farklı yaptık.
What did
Bence
we do differently?
farkındalık yolculuğu yani iç tanıklık yolculuğu.
I think we had
Ben
the
bunu diyebilirim
insight
yani.
or the
Çünkü
awareness.
diğerlerinin hepsinin kaynağı bu. Şunu diyebilirdim işte
I could have
tutku,
said like
inovasyon
passion,
falan filan diye ama bunların
innovation.
kaynağı bu. Yani
No,
ben
but it comes
suyun
from
daha
insight
ilk
and
gözünü
awareness.
anlatmaya çalışayım. Farkındalık yolculuğu şu oluyor. Hepimiz
And
düşünüyoruz.
this is what happens. Like we all think about it,
Düşünelim.
or if you
Niye
don't
bu
think about
dünyada
it, you
yaratıldık?
should.
Yani bu dünyaya niye
Like,
geldik?
why were you
Onun
born
cevabını
in
arıyor
the
insan.
first
Ne
place?
düşünüyorsun? İşte
And you're thinking to yourself,
ilk başta ben şunu gördüm. Ya yetenekler
like
verildiyse
talent.
bize
If you've got
muhakkak
the talent,
bunlar
the
bizim
capability,
borçlarımız, geri
you need
vermeliyiz.
to give back.
Şu an şey düşünüyorum. Bu
Because
dünyada
it's with
huzurlu
you.
olmak için
And
yaratıldık. Yani
So
huzuru,
we're here to build
özümüzü,
peace,
kendimizi fark edebilmek için.
essentially.
Öyle olunca da
And that
şu
being the
oluyor,
case, this is what
kendimizi
happens.
tanıyoruz ya hani Yunus Emre'nin çok hepimizin bildiği
It's as
sözü.
time
İlim
goes
ilim
on,
bilmektir, ilim kendin bilmektir diye.
You
Bundan
learn
önce
more about
Ali Bey'in de
yourself.
Ali Koç'un da konuşmasında
As
bahsettiği
Yunus
o
Emre once
farkındalık
says in his
insana
poems,
şunu getiriyor.
you
Ya
need to
zihninizdeki sınırsızlığı
you
fark
need
etmeniz
it's like doing crochet.
O da
Okay, with
herhangi
each
bir iş yaparken
warp, you
bir
learn
kere
more about
bilmemenin
yourself.
değeri yani kendimizi fark
While
etmek
you're
şöyle
in
bir
a
şey
certain
arkadaşlar.
business,
Yapanın sen
self-awareness
olmadığını
is
düşünüyorsun
like
ya, yapamayan
you
da
think
sensin.
it's
Ben
not
bugün
you,
ablamla
but
konuşurken şey
I
dedim,
was speaking to my
başarılı olmak-
sister and I
İnsan
said,
kendinden bilmeyince çok güzel bir tarafı var. Başarısızlığı da kendinden bilmiyor.
if you don't think
O yüzden
success
de
comes from you, it's
sınırsız
good.
bir gelişim
Because you think failure doesn't
kısmı var.
come from you.
Yani çünkü
So there's like
kendinize
huge room for
hasretmediğiniz bir
improvement.
özelliğiniz, özelliklerimizden kaynaklı bir sonuca
Because you
ulaşıyorum.
don't
Türkiye'nin en
attribute it
büyük
to
şirketini
yourself.
yapıyorsun, şunu yapıyorsun, ne yapıyorsan.
Like you might be running the
Ahmet Bey
biggest
gözümüzün
company.
önünde yani
There we go.
gelenebilecek
We have him. He's like the ultimate
nasıl diyeyim yöneticilik ve kariyerinde en
professionally.
noktalara gelmiş.
Okay, so he made it to the
Dönüp
very top.
sorsak belki hayatıyla ilgili
If I were
anlatacağı en
to ask him,
hayatında onu en fazla böyle mutlu
I
eden,
don't know,
huzurla
like
eden
the biggest
anların
sense of tranquility or
belki
peace
çok
for
az
him
yöneticilik hikayesiyle ilgilidir. Tamamen manevi
are
dünyasıyla
much
ilgilidir.
more to do
O
with his
yüzden de
private life, not so
sizden
much
kaynaklı olmayan
profession.
şeyleri gördükçe
So if
bu
you
sefer
sort of
şunu
acknowledge
yapıyorsun,
things that don't
cehaletinizle
necessarily
tanışıyorsun.
are because of you,
Bence
you would
hayattaki en
acknowledge
önemli
your
kavramlardan
ignorance.
birisi cehaletimizle tanışmak. Yani
Yes, so you need
bildiğiniz
to
şeylerin ne
acknowledge your
kadar az olduğu,
ignorance. Find out just how
bilmediğimiz
little you
şeylerin
know,
dünyaya ne kadar çok
and also
akı
acknowledge
noktalarında olduğunu görünce bu sefer
how much you don't know.
ardından sadece
the
şu
quantity
geliyor.
of
Yani
what you
hiçlikten
don't
çokluğa
know.
gitmek gibi
So
düşünün
it is
arkadaşlar.
like traveling
Daha
from
fazla ne yapabilirim?
nil to
Benim de tek sebebi
bounty.
biraz böyle
What else
kavramsal
can I do
anlattım ama
more? I know this sounds rather
daha
philosophical,
fazlasını yapma
but I'm always
gayreti ama
thinking, well,
kendimden
why
bilerek
not
değil, onun
always
sonucunda
deliver
olmuş
more?
diye düşünüyorum.
Yani daha fazlasını yapma gayreti ama bir taraftan da bir
Wanting the
mütevazilik
desire to
var
deliver more,
bahsettiğiniz.
but you're also very
Tam
modest.
aslında çift kanat hikayesi. Sabah
So again,
Aslı ve
it's like
Sadık'ın bahsettiği
the
hikayeyle
two
bağdaşıyor gibi
wings.
geldi. Bizim de sizin hani sizde gördüğümüz
Okay,
Ahmet
so
abi
we see this
çift
also with
kanatlı
you.
hayal orta bizim hani gözümüzde ete kemiğe büründürüyorsunuz.
You're
Ama
like
bir
flesh
taraftan
and
düşünüyorum
blood.
yani iş
But I'm
hayatı
also
o kadar
thinking to
yıl
myself, at
rekabetçi,
work,
hızlı bir düzen var. Onun
competitiveness,
içinde de çift kanatlı
and
kalmak herhalde
isn't it hard to
o kadar
stay
kolay
with
bir şey
two
değildir diye
wings?
düşünüyorum. Nasıl kaldınız
So
siz
how did you
çift kanatlı?
cope?
Şimdi yine ilk soruda olduğu gibi
Let's
temelde
go
bir
back
şeye
to the
değinmek
first
istiyorum.
question. It all
Hayatınız
boils
boyunca
down to
size
how
böyle
throughout your life
ikilemler sunulacak.
you're
Mesela
always
çift
gonna have a
kanatlı
dilemma.
çok güzel bir
It's a brilliant metaphor
var
how you
bir
have
kavram.
two
Ama
wings,
arkasında şöyle bir varsayım yatıyor.
but it's based on the
Normalde
fact that
esasında doğrusu tek kanatlı, iki kanatlı
like
olmak
why have two
zordur.
wings?
Veyahut da
Not easy.
doğru da işte ya çift kanatlı ya tek kanatlı.
Either one wing or two
Ee,
wings.
Bu ikilemlere
So when you run
şöyle bir
into
sözle
a controversy
vermek
or
istiyorum.
a dilemma,
Mesela Amerikan
Think
toplumunda
about it this
yaşadığınız
way.
zaman öyle bir kültürle karşı
In the
karşıya
US,
gelirsiniz ki
the
işte
culture is, or the
hayatta
lifestyle is such
kafana
that
koyduğunu yaparsın, hayal et,
if you
her
dream
şey
about
kafada
it,
başlar,
you will do it.
böyle bir kültüre
Okay?
gidersin.
That's what the
Daha
culture
böyle
tells you.
mütevekkil
more,
diyelim bakış
I don't
açılarının
know,
hakim olduğu
more,
kültürlerde
but
bu dünyanın
in-
pek işte önemi yoktur zaten.
in
her şey
societies
hiçbir
that
şey
are
bizden
lesser
gelmez.
adamant,
Şimdi biri sorar ikilem o mu bu mu?
okay, so is it this or
Esasında
that?
bizim Anadolu kültürümüzde
The
bunun cevabı
Anatolian
çok güzel
culture
verilmiş.
has a
Ne
brilliant
hayatın
answer to
hakimisin,
it.
ne de hayat
You don't reign
karşısında
life,
çaresiz.
and you can't
Şimdi,
be desperate
Dolayısıyla
either.
burada da bir ikilem yok.
So
İkilemin
it
tanımına
is not
bakarsanız
a dilemma.
iki tane birbiriyle zıt görüş
For it to be a
ama
dilemma, you
esasında
need to have
ikisinin
two
üstünde
opposing
düşündüğün zaman
views,
yeni bir doğruya ulaşabilirsin.
and you think
Buradaki
about both,
örnekte ne
and
hayatının
it
hakimisin ne
offers
de
you
hayat karşısında çaresizsin. Esasında
something new.
doğru
So you're
bu.
not
Şimdi
desperate,
doğruyu
and you don't entirely
içselleştirdiğiniz zaman
reign either.
o zaman iş kendiliğinden oluyor. Çift kanatlıya gelirsek
And this whole thing
bizim
about having
işimiz
two wings,
nedir?
right?
Yani biz
What do
sonunda
we
bir
do?
insanız
We
ve
are human beings
belirli karar
after all,
yetkilerimiz var.
and we've got
Belirli
like
sorumluluklarımız var. Yetki ve sorumluluklarımız var. Bir
with a
teşkilatı yönetiyoruz.
decision power, we run an
Teşkilatın içinde
organization.
çalışan başka birisinin
Inside that
başka karar yetkileri
organization,
var, başka
you've
şeyler
got
var.
other people who are
Birbirimizden
decision
bir farkımız
makers.
yok. Ama
We're not too
sonucu getiren
different.
insanların
What
fikirleri,
delivers results is ideas,
istekleri, becerileri,
desires,
sonuçları getiren bu. Başka
and
bir şey değil.
skills. Nothing else.
Peki bir insandan maksimum performans
And
alabilmek
hence,
için
in order to
insanın
maximize
her
someone's
boyutuna hitap
performance,
etmeniz lazım.
you need to be able to
Bilgi
appeal
boyutuna da hitap
to them
etmeniz
in all
lazım. Duygu
ways.
boyutuna da hitap etmeniz lazım.
Knowledge,
Belki ruhsal boyutuna
feelings,
da hitap etmeniz
and
lazım.
also
Belki
mentally
vücut
too.
boyutuna da hitap etmeniz lazım.
And
Şöyle
also
oturması
like,
lazım. Yani dik
I don't
gözünün
know,
içine bakması lazım.
posture-wise.
4 tane boyutumuz
Look
var.
straight in the
4
eye.
tane
We have four senses, don't we?
makinamız var.
Or four
Şimdi
different
bu
pieces of
makinelerin hepsini
machinery.
kullanırsak o zaman daha hızlı
We
gideriz.
use them all, and you'll go
Dolayısıyla
faster.
zaten hani çift değil ben 4 kanatlı
So,
değil.
maybe
Zaten
four wings, right?
Hedefimiz insanı bir bütün olarak
Our
insanın
job
içindeki Erdem Bey'in bahsettiği
Remember,
o
inside
cevherin
the human
kendisini
being,
bulmasına
there
yardım
is
edecek
that the
ortamı
thrill,
hazırlamak.
and
O
create
zaman
the
zaten performans
circumstances
geliyor. Onu yapmadığınız zaman performans sınırlı geliyor.
which
Performansın
would underpin your
şeyini görebilmek için
performance.
mecbursunuz
Otherwise
zaten
you'll
böyle
be
çalışacaksınız.
restricted.
Şimdi hayat felsefesi olarak buna inanıyorsanız,
And if you believe it,
yöneticilik konumunda da inandığınız hayat felsefesini uygulamıyorsanız
and if you don't
mutluluk konusuna
implement
geliyor bu
it,
sefer.
for instance,
O
it's
zaman
like
mutlu olamazsınız ki. Yaptığınız işte
happiness.
mutlu olamazsınız.
Without that, you can't be happy.
O
You
zaman
won't be
gider
happy
gelir
what
maaşınızı
you
alırsınız.
do. You'll
Yani
just
bunun hepsi
be
bir bütün.
commuting back and forth.
Dolayısıyla baştan bu şekilde yola
So,
koyulduğunuzda
So if you were to see things
zaten
that
bu
way,
soruya gerek kalmıyor. Hani nasıl
then you don't
Yani
even
zaten
need the
bunu yapmaya
question. Okay?
Erdem, peki şeyle devam etmek
Alright,
istiyorum. Bu kadar
let's now
hızla
continue
büyüyen
with-
bir şirket. Hani baktığımız zaman da girişimcilikte
It's
cesaret
rapidly
herhalde en
growing.
önemli kavram.
Encourage is
Siz de hiç
perhaps one of the
aslında
most
öncesinde
important
deneyiminiz
things.
olmayan
So,
bir sektöre atılıyorsunuz.
You went into a
2009 yılında.
business in
Biz
2009
şimdi sizin biraz
that you
çocukluğunuza
had no
indik.
experience
Babanızı
in.
ziyaret ettik ve
We
oradan
visited your
girişimcilik,
dad.
çocukluktan girişimcilik hikayelerinizi topladık.
and we
Bu
found out
size
that
de
you were an
sürpriz olacak.
entrepreneur at heart.
Bir video, pek çok hikaye topladık ama bir
There are a
tanesini
lot of
göstereceğiz.
stories. One of them
Esat videoyu
we'd like to
oynatabilirsek
play.
eğer.
Bir akşam eve geldim. Evin kapısında bir kırmızı, bir beyaz kurdale bağlıydı. Kapı açıldı. Açıldığında kızımın elinde tepsinin üzerinde makas vardı. Baba otelin açılışını yap dedi oğlumla kızım. Ben tamam makası verin keseyim kurdaleyi dedim. Bu arada Erdem sandalye koymuşlar asansör boşluğunun oraya. Erdem baba sandalyeye çık konuşma yap öyle kes dedi
He said,
kurdaleyi.
well, go up on the
Ve ben de
chair
sandalyeye
and cut
çıktım
the ribbon.
açılış konuşması yaptım.
And I did like an
Makası
opening
da
speech,
kurdaleyi kestim eve girdim.
cut the ribbon and went back.
Şimdi aslında videoda
Okay,
siz
so the
çocukken
video is
ablanızla birlikte
how you were
asansör
little
boşluğuna
and you
oteli
built
kuruyorsunuz.
a
Açılışta da
hotel
babanıza yaptırıyorsunuz.
and you had
Biz
your
buradan
father
acaba bir
cut
mesaj
the
mı var dedik
ribbon.
babanıza hani
We're
evi otel
thinking,
gibi kullanma.
I don't know.
Evet, tamamen şey oydu.
Yeah, that was
Sizin
it.
nasıl
Telling
peki?
your dad
Eşiniz Emine
that he
ablaya
shouldn't
sorsak,
be using
o
the
ne der?
home
Bu
like
iş
a
özel
hotel.
hayat dengesi aslında uzun yıllardır konuşulan
Private
bir konu.
and,
Mutluluk dedik aslında orayla da bağlanıyor.
Your public
İkisini dengede
domain
tutabilmek.
and your professional
Siz
domain.
nasıl bu,
Happiness is about setting a
sizdeki durum?
balance in between.
Bana verilen
How do you
sorular.
do this situation? This is a surprise question.
Dengelemeye çalışıyorum yani.
I'm doing my best to
Aslında çok
balance it out.
zor bir şey. Hem
It's hard.
dediğim gibi
It is hard.
Yani bir şirketin ilk başları bu
Because
6. veya işte 7.
Like
senesi.
the inception of
bir yaşım
any
var.
given
Yani şu an
business,
35
5, 6,
yaşındayım.
7 years in, I'm 35,
Zorlanıyor.
And I find it hard.
De yapamıyorum ama
and a lot of things I may
hikayeden
fail
dolayı
to
hep
do.
mesela 7.30,
But because of that
8'de
story,
kızımı görmediğim gün geçirmemeye
Like
çalışıyorum.
I make sure
Sabahta,
that I see my
Evime
daughter
gidiyorum sonra
first thing in the
11'de
morning
tekrar
and
çok-
at night.
yani işime yapmaya başlıyorum gece 1'e
Like
kadar.
I don't know,
O
I can
alanı
go back to work
kimseye
from
müdahale
11 p.m.
ettirmemeye
to
çalışıyorum.
1
Çünkü dediğim
a.m. but
gibi
I make sure to be home
varoluş amacımın
to spend time with my
eee,
daughter before she goes
yani
to bed.
huzur, aşk olduğunu düşünüyorum.
Because
Dolayısıyla ben
love
aşkıma
and,
kötülük ederek yani çocuk aşkı
composure
anlamında değil. İnsanın kalbine
is
maneviyat
what
ve
matters the
kötülük yanlış
most,
bir kelime oldu ama
affection.
ondan fedakarlık ederek
I don't
başka
want
bir,
to
yani,
like sacrifice
aslında
that.
dünyevi bir amaç için bunu yapmamak
material.
gerekir diye çabalıyorum ama
I don't
eşim
know,
nasıl
that's
cevap
what
verir bilmiyorum.
matters. And
Yine
I
bu
wonder what
girişimcilik
my
dünyasında aslında
wife would say.
çok isim görüyoruz.
Okay, so
Az önce yani Sinan abinin
in terms of
bahsettiği kendine
enterprise,
güvenli,
like there are
özgüvenli, daha çok
multiple
kendine güvenli
names,
isimler de görüyoruz. Mesela sizin yolculuğunuzu
confident.
düşünüyorum. Hani daha
And I
geçtiğiniz
see
ay
the
Fortune
journey,
dergisinin 40
like
yaş altı
Fortune,
en başarılı
last month,
insanları arasında gösterildiğiniz
said
önemli bir
that
liste.
you were one of the
Yani insana
most
şöyle bir his
accomplished
geliyor mu mesela
under
sizlerden
40-year-old.
abi? Tırnaklarımla
So you're
yoktan var
thinking,
ettim, ben yaptım. Yani böyle bir
I did
kibir
this all?
duygusuna
Arrogance?
kapılıyor musunuz?
Don't you ever
Nasıl
feel
korunuyorsunuz
arrogant?
kibirden?
Yani tabii tam cevabını veremem ama şöyle bir şey anlatayım.
I can't give you an exact answer, but let me tell you
Eee,
this.
27-28 yaşındayken
I was
ortaokul
27
yıllarından beri fark ettiğim
and since
işte
middle
insanın
school,
herkesin böyle hayatta şey
knew,
yaptığı özellikleri vardır.
like I
Bir
knew I had
özelliğim
this
dedim ki,
quality,
"Ya bu ticarette çok işe yarıyor.
and I said, oh, well, this is gonna
İnsanların-
work.
Ben
Me,
psikolojiyi çok
when I
severim.
start my own
Karşıdakinin zihin haritasını
business,
çıkarıp çıkarıp
like
bakın
I
böyle
can
çizmek yok.
like
O an zaten
draw
algılıyorsunuz.
a
Yani onu
mental
duygusal bir şekilde kendini onun
mind
yerine koyarak
map, and then I can empathize
ona
with the
göre
person,
strateji yapıyorsunuz. Yani
right?
ikna
And
ediyorsunuz.
strategize, and
Bakın,
therefore
İnanılmaz
convince.
şeyler yani dünyanın en
And I think this
iyi
is a
mimarını
gift.
gecekonduların içerisinde proje yapmak için ikna edebiliyorsunuz. Yani
I can
kapıların
convince, or I was
çoğunu
able
açan
to
buydu
convince
başta.
the world's number one
Sonra baktım ki
architect and
özelliği
designer
benim şirketi de
to help
yönetmekte
us with
çok
a
becerikli
project
değilim yani iyi bir yönetici
that
değilim.
was in the midst
Bakıyorum,
of
yönetemiyorum
shanty
yani.
towns.
Bu aynı özellikten kaynaklı.
And it's again,
Hepimiz
it's also
bunu
something
düşünecek
that
olursak bizi başarıya götüren
detracts from my management
özelliklerle
skills.
başarısızlığa götüren
So think
özellikler
about it.
baktığımızda
What
yani hepsi
adds or
aynıdır
what
demiyorum ama
detracts is often the same thing.
aynı kastan, aynı histen, aynı
It's
duygudan
almost
kaynaklı
like
olduğuyla karşılaşacağız.
probably
Yani
the same
o
muscle.
empati, o insanın zihin haritasını
the
okumak
empathy.
veya o empatiden dolayı hızlı karar alamıyorum. Çünkü
And
karşıdakinin
I
duygusu
can't decide
bana o
effectively
kararı
because I
aldırtmıyor.
empathize
Mantıklı olduğunu bilsem bile. O
because of the other
empatiden
person's feeling. Because I
zamanı
empathize
yönetemiyorum.
excessively.
Yani çünkü onun o an
And
durması
again,
lazım
because
ama
I
onun
can't
zihin
manage
haritası
my
çok güzel bir şey
time
anlatıyor
well
ve
enough.
onun yerine kendimi koyuyorum.
I
O
like
empatiden dolayı
wear the hat,
e,
and then I end up empathizing
yani
so much.
insanları geliştiremiyorum. Yani onun gelişmesiyle ilgili şeyler
I can't
yapıyorum.
like
Dolayısıyla yani
nurture
çok basit bir
that
soru.
person
Hepimiz
and make
kendimize
them grow.
sorabiliriz. Yani
So
başarıyla
ask yourself
başarısızlığın
that question.
kaynağındaki kas aynı olabildiğine göre
Failure
başaran
and
kim?
success
Yani
can
bunu
be
şöyle
underpinned
düşünmüyorum. Ben
by the
başarılıyım
very
veya
same
başarılı değilim
virtue.
diye. Yani o yüzden de
And again,
dervişin sözü sabah eşimle kahvaltı ederken söylemişti. Yazdım
okay,
hatta buraya.
she said to me, my
Çok basit
wife,
ama
at breakfast,
kusurlarımdan utanacak kadar kibirli değilim.
I'm not so arrogant
Yani
so as to be ashamed
başarıyla
of my
başarısızlık aynı kaynaksa zaten
weaknesses.
başarısızlığın kaynağından
Success
da
and failure
kusurundan da utanmaya gerek
has
kalmıyor.
equal provenance.
Ama bu
So
şöyle bir
there's
olay.
no
Kimse
need
kendinden emin
to be
olmamalı.
ashamed.
Bir an için bundan 3-4 sene önce o listeye ilk girdiğimde yazlıkta 2 tane çocukluk arkadaşımdayım.
I had
dediler,
two friends with
ya
me,
bu listedeki servetini
and they
işte
said,
kendisi kazanan tek kişi sensin.
at
ya
our
falan.
vacation
Bizim
home,
de
and they
çocukluk
said,
arkadaşlarında hiç birbirimizi
you
böyle
made a lot
övmeme
of
şeyleri
money,
yok. Böyle içim bir güzelleşti.
but you
O
made
akşam,
it all on your own.
Yatarken
And
şey
I-
dedim ya niye ben böyle
I felt
o
so
işten
cool.
güzel bir şey hissettim. Yani güzel
And I'm
hissetmek kötü diye
thinking,
değil.
why did I
Sadece
feel
ne
so
hissettiğimi
cool?
ben kalbime sorduğumda
What was I
biliyorum.
feeling,
Ya tabii
thinking?
ya başkası herkese babasından kalıyor falan diye. Halbuki
Yes,
şunun
well,
cevabını
others had
sonradan
inherited
öğrendim abicim. Bunu da
from
herkes
their
lütfen şey
parents.
yapsın.
And by the way, note it down.
Babandan para kalmasıyla
Inheriting money
babandan
from your
vizyon
parents
kalması, babandan
is
anandan
not the
başka bir şey
same
kalması
as in
farkı yok.
is
Yani çünkü
inheriting
hepsi
a
bence
vision,
Allah'tan
an
kalıyor.
inspiration.
Dolayısıyla
Because it's
kafamızdaki
all
o setleri
bestowed
yıkmamıza
upon
sebebiyet
you
veriyor.
by
Böyle
God,
baktığınızda
the Almighty.
zaten
So
iş
you look at
sizi
it
oraya
that way.
götürüyor yani.
Yani bir de tabii o yolculukta etrafımızda
And you know, it is a journey,
yani
and it's
başarıda,
also about
başarısızlıkta
who's
da.
with you
Etrafımızı kimler
at times of
çeviriyor, hayal
failure
ortakları.
and success.
Ahmet abi,
Like
sizin
who
de
surrounds
bir
you.
sürü hayal
So let me
ortağınız var
turn to
aslında
you.
etrafınızda.
You've got loads and
İşten,
loads of
evden,
dream
aileden
partners.
hepsi hayal ortaklarımız.
You've got
Siz
loads of
seçerken,
dreaming partners.
nelere dikkat ediyorsunuz? Yani bir
What do
kişinin
you
sizin
do
hayal ortağınız olması
to make
için
sure you
hangi
choose the
özelliklere
right
sahip olması
people?
lazım?
Valla basit esasında.
It's very
Eee,
simple.
Gönül birliği ve samimiyet.
Sharing
ortaklığı,
heart, soul,
Konu olan her neyse.
and being
eee,
crystal
Orada
and being
iyi
genuine,
niyetle, birlikte bir şeyi
being
başarmaya
sweet and kind and
yol
nice,
alıyor olmak en başta bu
and
geliyor.
dedication.
Fikir birliği
Do you always
Eee,
have to agree? No.
çok da şart değil çünkü
You don't always have to be in agreement.
iyi niyet olduktan sonra farklı
Because
fikirler
so long as you set your
işe
mind onto
zenginlik
it,
katıyor. Ama
it's good to
burada
have
böyle belki
dissenting
biraz daha
opinion.
detaylı çizgiler de var. Yaptığınız işin ne
But there are
olduğuna bağlı
subtleties.
olarak,
It really depends on what you do.
örneğin
For example,
benim farklı fikrim var.
Like
Ben
I-
demokrasi diye bir şeye inanmıyorum.
I don't really believe
Bu bana göre
that democracy
fikir
is
çeşitliliği
good.
değil. Çünkü
I
insan
don't think this
onuruna
is dissenting opinion,
uygun,
diversity of
hatalı da
opinion,
çalışsa, yanlış da çalışsa,
because even if it
bu
be
tip
bad,
fikirlerde
this is
fikir
it, right?
çeşitliliğini
So,
ayrı tutarak ama
You know, diversity of
belirli bir
opinion,
çizgide olmuş
with the exception of diversity of opinion,
beceri
also
çok
like
Yani biz burada
to learn
gerçekten
to have an
hep böyle
opinion
ulvi
and
bir takım
have a
özelliklerden
diverse set of
bahsediyoruz ve
skills.
çok önemli.
What we're
Ama
saying is
beceri
you have to have this, you have to have that,
birleşmediği zaman
but without a skill
o
set,
zaman kendimizi çok iyi hissedebiliriz
it
ama
it won't
ilerleme
materialize. You'll
kaydedemeyebiliriz.
probably feel really good
Bu
about
hayal
yourself,
ortaklarında,
but
hayal
you're not
ortaklığı konusu
going
her
to
neyse, becerilerin de
do
birbirini
any better.
tamamlaması
And with
ki
these dream
2+2
partners, you need
5'i
to complement each other
yaratabilelim.
to make 2 plus 2 equal 5.
Bunlar herhalde.
And that's
Sizin
it,
var
I
mı
suppose. Do
Hayal
you,
ortaklarınızı nasıl?
how do you
Benzer
pick
şeyler
your own
söyleyebilirim. Çok,
dream partner?
yani hayat arkadaşı seçer gibi.
It's like
Genelde
choosing your soulmate.
İşle evdeki yaşamı böyle bir şizofrenik bir şekilde ayırıyoruz yani. İş
I see that
hayatında
schizophrenic
aslında
divide
evde
between work and
eşimize,
play.
çocuğumuza veya
At
normal
home,
sosyal hayatımızda dostumuza yapmayacağımız şeyi işte yapabiliyoruz.
you
ve
don't
onun da
want to do
normal
things
olduğunu,
at home,
kötü şeylerden
what you
bahsetmiyorum
wouldn't
yani.
do it. But it's okay, you
İnsanları
can
daha
do
iyi
things at work
çalıştırmak için
which you
memnun etmek
wouldn't
çok
do
çıkarcı bir
at
yaklaşım
home.
ya mesela. Bu çalışan memnuniyeti
You
bir
need to
kavram.
reward
Öyle bir
people to make them
kavramlaşınca
work more,
halbuki yani böyle
employee
insanın şeyi
satisfaction.
düşün.
Ultimately,
Babam orada ben
it's a fact. Like my
babamı
dad's
şöyle
there.
sevdiğimi düşünüyorum. Ben kendi
It's like
çalışma arkadaşlarıma
I,
da böyle anlatıyorum.
and you know, I often say this to
Babanı
my coworkers.
babamı bir sevsem de bana bir haşlık toka etse,
I'm not
şöyle bir şeyler
selfish. I
yapsam,
don't
ne
love
kadar
my dad just
kötü bir hisse başkasını bir çıkarıp
because I
sevmek
need
o
his
kadar
money.
veya onu memnun etmek o
So,
kadar kötü bir his. Dolayısıyla biz
you know,
yani
loving
hayal
someone for a
arkadaşı
reward is awful.
ben çok dediğim gibi yani 3-4 sene sonra daha iyi cevap verebilirim. bu
I'll
konuya ama
probably more
hayat arkadaşı
capable
seçer gibi.
to
Yani
take
aynı
this
idealle
question a
kalbi
couple of
çarpacak
years down the road.
insanlar
So
seçmek
it's
lazım.
like choosing your soulmate.
Başka
You
da
need
bir
to
şey
have
diyemeyeceğim.
the
Bir de
same
hayal
set of
ortaklığı
ideals.
deyince yani aslında
and
hayaller
dreams.
büyüdüğünde onlara inanmak, onların
When your
ortak
dreams
olmak daha
grow,
kolay ama bir hayal
grow bigger,
sıfırdayken ona
it's easier
destek
to be
olmak
there.
çok daha zor.
But
Yani
it's not
size
easy
baktığımda
to
da
buy into
aslında
someone's
yani
dream
bugün
when it doesn't
mesela
even
buradaki
exist yet.
arkadaşlar neden YGA zirvesine seçildiniz? Çünkü
Like, why were you
vicdanlı
guys
hayaller
elected?
kurdunuz. Yani vicdanlı
Because you all
hayaller,
have
daha
a
iyi bir
big
Türkiye, daha iyi
heart.
bir dünya için kurulan hayaller.
You want a better
Ve
country,
dediğim gibi bu
a
hayaller
better
çok küçük
nation.
olduğu zaman ona hayal
But
ortağı
if
bulmak
the
zor.
dream
Yani
is
büyüyünce bir şekilde daha
minuscule,
fazla destek
you
bulabiliyorsunuz.
cannot relate to
Mesela
it.
Film
You
Bilim
can only
Projesi'ne
relate more.
ikiniz de
Like
ilk
twin
destekçilerinden birisiniz.
science.
Ahmet
Both
abi
of you
siz kişisel
supported.
kaynağınızdan
Ahmet,
10.000
you
tane bilim kişi sipariş
actually
ettiniz. Yetim öğrencilere,
ordered
Suriyeli
10,000
öğrencilere
to donate
iletilmesi için
to
İnerden
orphan
abi sizin
Syrian
verdiğiniz
children.
destek. Yani
And
bunlar
also
aslında
you
bilime
did
ve
too,
çocuklara yapılan yatırım çok önemli.
all
Ama
for the
sizler
sake of
0. günden
science
destek
and
oldunuz.
children. So you
Neden
started
Film
to
Bilim
like
Projesi'ne
support
destek
from
oldunuz?
day
Neden
zero.
YGA Projesi'ne
Why
destek
did you, in the first place, want to support the science initiative? I live in the States. It's not nice to disclose your age. I'm 57. 3 weeks ago,
Eşim Fatoş da dalga geçti.
my wife,
Beslenme çantanı falan da
she
vereyim
was
yanında bari dedi. Ben
ironical,
okula gittim.
and she said, here,
6
take your
günde
lunchbox. I went to school for
Silikon
6 days in the Silicon Valley
dünyayı değiştirecek teknolojileri
to engage in technologies that are about to disrupt the world. It was a moment of truth for me. I knew a few bits and pieces, but then it really dawned on me that we certainly are on the brink of a major transformation from the ancient times. And the very last was the information age. I don't know what to call it. Maybe the age of connectivity. It certainly is, you know, brand new. He said it. A lot is about to change.
Ama ben bir şeyi biliyorum. Yani bir şeyi biliyorum. O da bilim ve teknoloji
I know for sure
konusuna doğru yaklaşan
that if you approach
insanlar,
science and technology,
şirketler, ülkeler
individuals,
bu yeni çağda
corporations,
aynı Ali Bey'in dediği gibi
exactly
belki
like
şimdiye
Ali
kadar
said,
bazı alanlarda geri kalmış olsalar da bu çağı iyi
so long
okuyup
as you
önüne
approach it
geçerse
properly,
o zaman bu açığını kapatma şansına sahip.
notwithstanding
İnsanlar da
mistakes made in the
şirketler de
past,
ülkeler.
you can recuperate
Şimdi bu tarz değişimlerde
the void that goes for
mesela
nations,
iş
and it
dünyasında
also
diyelim ki bir
goes
plan
for
isteriz insanlardan. Biz o
individuals.
planda
It's like having a business
A'dan B'ye
plan.
nasıl gidileceğini tam böyle her şeyle
And
görmek
that
istiyoruz.
plan will
Bu tip
set out how to
değişimlerde
move
böyle
from point A to
dönüşümler
point B.
gerçekleşirken bunu görmek
But
pek mümkün
a
olmuyor.
point of disruption, you
Ben de
can't
bu
really
Twin
tell.
projesine bu gözle baktım.
And this
Yani
twin
ülkemizde
is
bilim ve
just
teknolojiye
like that.
Genç çocuklarımızı çocuk
We
yaştan
need to entice our
onlara
kids at
hizmet
an early
etmeyi
age.
sevdirerek oraya
by making science fun for
potansiyeli
them
olanları oraya yönlendirerek
and like get them
o
to
insanlara
engage
çok
with
büyük bir
science and
iyilik yapmış
scientific
oluruz. Onların
activity.
ailesine
It's
çok
a
büyük bir
blessing
iyilik
for
yapmış
them
oluruz.
and for
Ülkemize
their
çok büyük
families.
bir iyilik
It's also a blessing for the
şimdi
nation
ben bu bilim
if you
fikrini
make
alan
science fun
arkadaşlar
for them.
aldılar, çalıştılar,
So
yaptılar.
they got
Maksat
it,
hasıl oldu mu?
they built it.
Hayır.
Is it good enough? No.
Belki daha iyisi
Maybe.
olabilir ama bu önemli değil.
Maybe yes, maybe
Çünkü
more.
bu tarz
It
değişimler
really
dediğim
doesn't
böyle yol
matter
haritasını tam olarak görmemiz mümkün
because
değil.
it's
Ben şuna
impossible
baktım.
to see the roadmap entirely.
Fikir doğru mu?
I said, well,
Doğru.
is it the right idea? Yeah,
YGA
it's a
doğru
cool idea.
teşkilat mı? Doğru.
Is
Çünkü
the
YGA'nın
young guru
insanları
the
doğru,
right
çalışma
place?
tarzı doğru.
Yeah, because it functions
O
well.
zaman biz buna destek
So
verelim.
I said, why not
Hep
support
birlikte,
it?
el birliğiyle
And we would like
bunun
join
bir
forces
sonraki adımlarını
to
amacımız olan
to
bilim ve teknoloji
bolster
alanında
further
Türk
steps.
insanını
And our
Türk milletini
overarching goal is
dünyada
to
hak ettiği yere getirebilme şansına sahip olalım.
is to bring our
Bu
community
bir tek YGA
to
ile
engage
olmaz.
more with
Daha
scientific
önceki
activity.
konuşmacılar da söyledi. Bu
It cannot
milli
happen
eğitim,
overnight. It
ile birlikte
certainly
çalışılması gerekir.
requires
Başka
close
STK'ların
collaboration
girmesi gerekir. Görüyorum ki
with the MOH
Türk sanayi inanılmaz
and
bir destekle geliyor.
likewise
Bu muhteşem.
other industries. Like
Dolayısıyla bu da zaten başarısının olacağına dair çok önemli bir görüntü.
there's enough
Ama benim
proof
buradan
already
herkese
that it's
çağrım,
going to be
ne
successful.
olur bunu
So I'd like to
bırakmayalım.
call out to you
Hep
now,
birlikte
please
destek olalım
don't let go.
ve
Keep supporting this
bundan
initiative.
15 sene sonra, 20 sene
Likewise,
sonra,
10-20 years down the road,
kitini verdiğimiz
we'd like the
çocuklarımız
kids who are
20-22
like
yaşına
7
geldiği
years
zaman
old nowadays,
şimdiye kadar biz
by the time they're in their
nüfusumuzun
mid-20s,
%15'ini
it'll be
bilim ve
that,
teknoloji alanından
you know,
mezun etmişsek, ya bu hiç olmazsa
they'll be ever more
20 olsun,
willing
25
to
olsun.
study,
Bu
to
çocukların
pursue
içinden
science.
girişimciler çıksın.
And we want
Onların içinden
to
iş
raise
yaratanlar, iş
future
imkanları yaratanlar
entrepreneurs,
çıksın.
have
Dünyada
these young
Nobel'e
kids
aday olanlar
eventually
çıksın.
build their own
Çünkü
businesses
gerçekten
and also become
yani 200
one day
ülkede
a Nobel
iş yaptım
laureate.
diyebilirim. Bu ülkenin insanı çok özel,
I've
çok
operated in
yetenekli
200
ve
markets.
doğru
People here are
desteklemelerle
unique. They've got
eee,
so many unique
Türkiye
set of skills
dünyanın
and
en üst
capabilities.
sırasındaki ülkelerden
And so long
biri,
as you sort of encourage them in the right
olması
way,
gereken,
you
olması
can
gereken çünkü her şey verilmiş bize.
never ever give up. You can do
Onun için
really
çok
well.
önemli
We've
buluyorum.
got all it
Sonunu
takes.
görmesem de başından destek oluyorum
I can't see
ama hep birlikte de
what's in
sonunu çok güzel
store, what's at
getirebileceğimizi
the end of the
düşünüyorum.
tunnel, but I know that,
Tabii.
yes, go ahead.
Bir mikrofon. İsterseniz
Geldi.
ayağa da kalkabiliriz Ahmet abi.
You can
Nasıl
stand up.
Daha
rahat
iyi.
hissederseniz.
Ben şöyle bir soru sormak istiyorum. Demin Ahmet Bey yeni bir çağa
Okay,
girdiğinizden
you
bahsettiniz.
said,
Konuşmanın başında
Ahmet,
bir
that we're on the
sistemden
brink of a new
bahsetmiştiniz.
age.
Bence
And you
günümüz
said
girişimcilik
we're a
adaylarının
bit
en
like
büyük problemlerden
systems.
biri bu sistemi
One of the
oluşturmak
problems
değil,
that we have
sistemi
is
uygulamak.
not that we don't
Peki
have the system,
girişimci
but like
adaylarına
applying the
sistemi uygulamak
system.
hakkında bir
For,
tavsiye verebilir misiniz?
what are your
Madem o konuyu
recommendations
açtınız,
for future
esasında o
entrepreneurs?
kadar güzel oldu ki
Okay, good thing
ben
you
benim sistem
you talk
yöntemim
about this.
benim için çalışan bir yöntem.
My system works for
Erdem
me.
Bey'in yöntemi Erdem
His
Bey için
system
çalışan bir yöntem.
works for him.
7 milyar insan varsa 7 milyar insanın
And
ayrı yöntemi
everyone,
olacak. Lütfen kimse burada
have
anlamasın
their own
değil de
unique
herkes
system.
sistematik olacak.
And we can't
Ama
always
şunu
rely on
belki
our system.
yapabiliriz. Hangi şartlarda
For
siz
some of us, it will be more
kişisel
relevant,
olarak
for others
perform
less.
ediyorsunuz? Yani
But you
kişisel
need to
olarak
know the
iyi sonuçlara
circumstances
gidiyorsunuz.
under
Kendi
which you deliver
yaptığınızdan,
well.
hissinizden, fikrinizden memnunsunuz, tatminsiniz. O şartları
And you
sağlayan,
find gratifying.
benim için
So
sağlayan
these are the
sistemdir.
circumstances you
Ben
need
o
to
şekilde
pursue.
alıştım.
Me, I like system.
Ama
I'm a systems
yani
person.
biz mesela Erdem Bey'le bu konuşmada bence çok güzel birbirimizi
I
tamamladık.
think
Çünkü
Erdem and I
ve
really
onunki tam
complement
doğru ve
one
benimki
another.
tam doğru. Onunki onun
He's
için
not
doğru ama
100%
belki
right, and
benimkinden
neither
bir şey
am I.
ekler. Benimki de benim için
I think
doğru,
we
ben de onunkinden
complement
bir
each
şey eklerim.
other.
Hayat böyle.
And this
Bakmayın,
is
dogmatik
the
olarak
beauty of
bakmayın.
life.
Uygulama bir yerde disiplin meselesi, ben yine Erdem Bey izin
In
verin.
terms of execution, we need the discipline. So let me quote from you. It is about self-esteem.
Çok iyi anladığımı
Like
yapıyorum.
I
Belki
think
ben de
I
kendi
understand
kelimelerime
it
ifade
very
etmek
well, but
istiyorum.
let me sort of put
Bakın
things in my
size
own
bedavaya
words.
bir vücut verilmiş.
For free,
Kalp verilmiş.
you have your healthy
verilmiş,
body, your heart,
ruh verilmiş.
your mind, and your soul.
Bunların kapasitesini biliyor musunuz? Ne
Do
olduğunu?
you know
Hiçbirimiz bilmiyor.
the utmost capacity?
Bedava.
No.
Gelmişiz
And
hayata
it's given
hepimizde
you
var.
for free.
Şimdi bunun bir karşılığı olmak zorunda
There
değil.
has to be a return.
Bu
No?
verilen potansiyele
Because
karşı bir
like you've
saygınız
been
olmak
given the
zorunda.
potential, And
O
you
zaman
need to have a regard for it.
önceliklendirme yaparken hayatınızda
While
bugün ne yapayım,
prioritizing
nasıl
what you
yapayım?
need to do every day,
Yani kalbiniz,
how to go
beyniniz
about with life,
hakikaten
your
bunları daha
heart
iyi
and your
kullanmak,
brain
hem kendi yararınıza hem insanlık
has to
yararına,
be used
aileniz
better
yararına
to serve your
yani bunun
families,
ateşiyle yanıp tutuşmanız
humankind, and yourself better.
gereklidir.
Like you need to have a
Bedava
passion
almışsınız bütün bunları,
for it.
bunları iyi
It's
yönde
given to
kullanmanız
you for
gereklidir.
free. Use it
Şimdi bunun
properly.
sonucu olarak ben otururum pazar günü planımı yaparım.
I might
Siz
be
pazar
willing
günü
to plan
çıkarsınız,
on
ne
a
plan
Sunday.
edersiniz? Çok güzel bir
You
iş
may not.
yaparsınız.
You may want to do something
Belki
else on a
oturursunuz
Sunday.
çocuğunuzla çok güzel bir zaman geçirirsiniz.
You may have quality time with your
Hepsi de
kids on
bunların
a
geçerlidir,
Sunday.
güzeldir. Ama
There's
sonuçta
no one
zamanınızı
single prescription.
en
But
doğru
the thing
şekilde
is, use your
kendi,
time effectively,
kendi kendinize rehberlik ederek bir
the
yerde
best
doğru
way
nedir?
possible,
Ha, bu da bir de şunu
giving
söyleyeyim.
yourself
Lütfen
guidance.
kimse buradan çıkıp
And like when you leave
yarın
this
her
room,
şeyin doğrusunu bulacağını
don't
sanmasın.
you
Ben hala
presume
doğruyu
that
bulduğumu falan
you'll
sanmıyorum.
found the ultimate truth.
Hayat bir
I
yolculuk.
haven't either. Life
Neyi
is
aradığın,
a
neyi
journey
beklediğinin
about what you're
bilincinde
looking
olmak bir
for,
yolculuk.
what your
Ha, bu
expectations
yolculukta
are,
da ikilem
and
dedik ya.
having
O
awareness.
ikilemli
Like you
yürüyeceksiniz.
said,
Ben mesela
dilemma.
şimdi diyorum ki ben şimdiye
I'm
kadarki
saying,
düşünce
what I'm saying is,
kapasitemle bir şeyi bulduğumuzu
I
sanıyorum.
think I've
Odur diyorum amaç.
found so
O
much,
yolda sanki %100 oymuş gibi yürüyorum.
and I keep
Ama
sort
aklımın
of
bir kenarında da
pursuing that
benim daha
path.
çok bilmediklerim
But
var.
I also
Herhalde yeni bir şey
am
öğreneceğim. O
in
zaman da onu.
constant
Ama bütün mesele
recognition that there's
iyi
so much
niyetle bunu
more to
takip
learn.
etmek. Yani siz
And
de
also, like,
gerek
you need to be
disiplinli
doing the
olmakta,
same.
disiplinli olmak,
You don't just
yaratıcı
need
olmakta
to
yaratıcı
adapt a
olmak,
great deal of
hayatın
discipline,
gayesini bulmaya
be
çalışmaksa,
creative,
her
and
neyse
pursue
bunların
the
her biri
ultimate
birer
meaning
yolculuk.
of
Doğruları
the ultimate truth.
şu an
But explore
bildiğiniz, bulduğunuz
and
olan
like
doğruları takip edin.
and pursue
Doğrularınızın tam
your own
olmadığına
truth,
karşı
your
aklınız,
value.
fikriniz açık olsun.
Have an
Onları
open
öğrenin,
mind,
hatalarınızdan öğrenin.
explore,
Yolculuğa da bu
learn
şekilde
from your
devam edin.
mistakes,
Ölene kadar
and
da bu
keep
yolculuk
pursuing
gider.
that journey
Öldüğünüzde de hiçbir şeyi
until
tam
the very
bilmezsiniz
end.
herhalde. Öyle
And
düşünüyorum.
even, you know,
Hiçbir şeyi tam öğrenemeyeceğiz.
when you die,
Ama bu
it's
yolu
not
yürümek.
like
Önemli
you've
olan bu yolu yürümek.
conquered it all
Her
either.
gün daha iyisi
Even
için
then,
çalışmak
just
aslında.
like keep walking.
Sohbet çok keyifli
Strive
ama
for
süremizin
better.
sonuna doğru
We've
geliyoruz.
come
Erden
to
abi
the end.
sizinle kapatalım
Let me turn
isterseniz.
to you
Yani
and
burada
close with you.
aslında üniversite öğrencileri var, birkaç yıl
We
sonra
have
mezun
university
olacaklar, hayata
students.
atılacaklar.
They're
Aynı
about
zamanda
to
liseli
come out
arkadaşlarımız
of
var. Yine
college.
onlar da birkaç yıl
There
sonra
are high school
üniversiteye geçecekler,
students who are
hayatlarını
about to
dizayn
start
edecekler.
university.
Ne söyler,
A
ne
few
söylemek
years down the road,
istersiniz?
what is your
Bu global
message
ortamda
in a
neyi
global,
farklı yapalım?
in
Bize
this
bir
very
son bir
global
reçeteniz var mı?
environment? What do we
Mümkün
need to
olduğu
do
kadar.
differently?
Ben
Do you have a
2 sene önce
prescription? 2
YGA'da
years
bir
ago.
konuşma yapmıştım. Tabii böyle kendi kendime akıp giden bir konuşmaydı.
I made a speech in YGA, and then like 300,000 people watched that, and they all liked it.
Bunu daha
And
deminki şeyimle birleştireyim sonra
let me combine it with, connect it to what I'm trying to say. I mean, today I might deliver a rather poor speech. That's a great example, actually. A real life example. Now I can be unlimited, really. I will not limit myself with the question. I am free. I am very comfortable.
şöyle söyleyeyim.
So what I'm trying to say is reading.
Bu neler söyleyebilirim diye düşününce kendime söylediğim şeyleri söyleyebilirim.
What can I say about it? I can only say what I say to myself. Reading your own heart, reading the other person's heart, reading our mind. Today when you're alone in the nature, that serenity also urges us to read. And we're also responsible for making an effort. We're not responsible for the end result. And that's why try to read everything.
Maneviyat da oku diye başlıyor. Okumaya başladıktan sonra dinlemek geliyor. Yani işte o bir güzel bir şeydir. Mesnevi de dinle diye.
And in certain all religions also they say listen, and we all have a limitless strength, limitless power, and that's why I'm so sensitive to these science kids, because I want to give a scientific perspective to people, because it really helps you to access to that inner strength. Of course we have to read, we have to learn, but also there are very few things that are so clear. Science, Einstein. And he says in his relativity theory, he talks about says that apart from the light itself, everything is relative. So we have to question. We all have an unlimited mind. And I mean, I can't prove this to you, but I certainly believe that everyone has the capacity to be a genius. Because learning is, I mean, believe in the indefinite power of your brain. And I'm not only talking about conventional learning, but we have the ability to directly download. I mean, you can learn everything that you don't know right now. I mean, it's like inspiration. Do you know what sort of a learning inspiration is? No, it's like getting inspired. And so start that journey, and you have this amazing potential and the indefinite power, and feeling it, it's like it's also feeling anxiety at the same time. They're the same thing. They will take you to the place where you're gonna go. And weakness, when I say weakness is not about not being able to do something, falling down. These are very important gains, because you see your indefinite power. And when you are divided, you have to, you get away from the universe, the God, the creator, and everything else. So always try to unify, always try to bring together. And it's like yelling. When you are away from your essence, you yell, because you shout. Because when you shout, you try to let your voice reach something further away. So it's about getting away from your essence and being happy with where you are, what you are, and seeing everything without putting a judgment on them, because we're going to be entrepreneurs. We're going to be in the business life. See everything neutral, like water, because you just put a meaning on everything with your perspective. As Atatürk said, I never had any pessimistic thought at any stage of my life, because when you're stuck on negative things, you stay there, you stop your progress, and you get away from the creator, the universe, or whatever you want to call it. And last but not least, there is one saying, a very nice saying: to find the treasure beneath you, demolish your home so you can build palaces. So what is our home? Our fears, our anxieties, the things we insist on. I mean, we have to get rid of them. You may say, I am very successful because of this talent of mine. Tomorrow you might not have that talent. Believe me, you know, it says, don't brag about your beauty. You're gonna have a pimple sooner or later. And so every type of relationship, there is this uniqueness, a unique quality that takes us to success, and it's love, whatever, I mean, however you want to define it, it's love. Open your doors. Don't get stuck with anything. Open the doors and just seek love, and this is what is in our essence anyway. And hopefully, I mean, as I said, maybe I can't do half of what I'm talking about, but we will be together if we act together. Thank you so much. You are both a very important dream partners. And now we would like to leave the floor to Sadık.
Muhtemelen görmüşsünüzdür. Hayal ortağımız Engin Altın Düz Yatan'ın sergisi var.
There's this exhibition of Engin Altan Düz Yatan. Let me tell you the story. In order to bring potable, clean water to Africa, there were wells opened, and he took the photographs of those wells. And there's a short video clip about this, and then he's gonna have a short message for all of us.
uzun zamandır büyük bir tehlikeyle karşı karşıya. Afrika'nın dört bir yanı bir kap temiz su için kendilerini vahşi doğanın derinliklerine atıp günlerce yürümek zorunda kalan insanlarla dolu. Dünyanın gözü önünde sürüp giden bu trajedinin yıkıcı etkileri masum insanların hayatlarını yerle bir etmeden önce birileri taşın altına elini sokmalı. Ben Engin Altan Düz Yatan. Afrika'nın sesine kulak vermek adına uzun bir yolculuğa çıkıyorum. Amacım doğanın mucizelerinden biri olan büyük göçü fotoğraflamak ve o insanların yaşamlarına dokunmak. Benimle birlikte bu görkemli yolculuğa tanıklık etmeye hazır mısınız?
Hep bugün hayal ortaklığı dedik ya, biz de Engin Altan Düz Yatan'ın hayaline ortak olmadık.
So we wanted to become a partner to Engin Altan Düz Yatan's dream. He couldn't come today, but he sent a message to share with you.
Kendi küçük çıkarlarını aşabilen insanlar daha
Only people who can get over their small pieces of interest, they can dream big. I congratulate you for this. I can't be in Istanbul, that's why I'm not there today, but I am looking forward for deeper conversations at YGA camps. Love. And I'm going to tell you about your applause to him. Now we're gonna have a break. We're gonna have our dream partners 3 floors above us, and we have a surprise for you. The exhibition of Engin is also there, and 5:10 we'll be back here. So, starting from where we left from, when we were getting prepared, we sent you an email, and in that mail, we shared with you a song sung by MFÖ, written by the lyrics by Yunus Emre, and it says, "We are lazy." And we love that song, and but we couldn't, unfortunately, but we couldn't sing it in the previous meetings. But let's do it. Let's sing it all together now, shall we? But all together, really. I suppose you know them by heart, but we're gonna also have the lyrics on the screen. So let's sing it together.
Adımız miskindir bizim, düşmanımız kimdir bizim? Biz kimse kin tutmayız, kamu alemdir bize, kamu alem birdir bize. gider oldu. Kalanlara selam olsun. Bilmeyen ne bilsin bizi, bilenlere selam olsun. Bilenlere selam olsun.
Evet.
Selamlar. Hoş geldiniz.
Welcome. Mazhar Fuat Özkan was the surprise of the day, and despite their very busy schedule, they were kind enough to accept our invitation. Welcome to you.
Bu günün konsepti abi birlikte başarmak.
The concept of today is collaboration and shared success. I think you're one of the best people who can explain this. You've been together for 46 years, such a rare thing. Can they turn on the monitors, because I have hard time hearing you. Okay, how is it now? Okay, perfect. So 46 years you've been together, a sustainable collaboration, shared success. What was your recipe really to be able to carry on for such a long time? You composed great songs and everything. Now start, Mazhar. No, Fuat, you start. Well, I think the most important thing I have to emphasize here is patience. Patience is the key. Hard work, believe in the works of arts you create, make due diligence, make sure that nothing reminds nothing else. And for a song to be listened with a long time, you have to do very high quality songs that can be listened to a long time. I remember Mazhar used to bring the lyrics, and we used to compose the songs together, and we used to sing together. And this love, this passion did not end. We still love the job we do. I agree with what Fuat said, and of course music connected us. Sometimes we don't speak to Fuat. Fuat and I, we don't speak with one another. Özkan is more like an intermediary, and like we don't speak to one another for months. But sometimes, yes, it's all about love and dialogue. But sometimes they bring an agreement to us, emotional agreement, so to speak, in commas, and we say, okay, let's make up. We need to do this contract. And Özkan may continue, maybe. I think it's the respect and the love we feel for what we have done. 3 voices, our friendship, the fact that we are real people, genuine people, natural people. I think that was the key. We never looked like any other bands. We were doing a different type of music, and everyone had their own understanding of excellence, and we had different views. But of course we were dedicated, and we made sacrifices to stay in the group. There's another detail. This voice characters of all three of us. Sometimes many three voices can come together, but they might not be in harmony as we are. But our tones were really harmonious, and we all loved that sound that those three voices created. We still adore it. We were on the stage the other day, and we were singing Yalnızlık Symphonisi, and we were again mesmerized by the harmony of our voices. I remember we were on a plane. We came across İbrahim Tatlıses, and he said, you know, once I asked myself, what is this about them? And I realized that you never look at the camera, because TV at that time, you know, had this little red button on, and you always had to look at the camera. And this was kind of a merit, talent. The artists, the singers who can actually follow the camera. But we never did that. And Ibrahim Bey noticed it. I never thought it was a quality, but then it turns out to be a quality. And also, you know, MFÖ is a brand. What happened? Nothing. Did I interrupt you? I'm so sorry. I apologize. MFÖ is, as you know, half of our band name is pronounced in English, sometimes in Turkish, sometimes they call us MFÖ, sometimes MFÖ. This is a brand, and do you know who named us? If you're curious, let me tell you, we were in Sweden, and we were going to attend the Eurovision Song Contest. And the woman, the presenter, asked the name of the band. And we said, Mazhar Fuat Özkan. And the Swedish presenter looked at us and like, how am I going to pronounce it, Mazhar Fuat Özkan? And when we were on the stage, she announced us as MFÖ. And this is how the name MFÖ was adopted, thanks to the Swedish presenter. So no one calls us MFÖ. At one point we said maybe we should call this MFÖ, but still everyone calls us MFÖ. There are two recipes then for your success. The fact that you love your job, and the second one is that you're real. And among the three of you, there should be a balance. One of you is maybe a dreamer, the other one is a realistic, the other one may be, I don't know, an excellence seeker. So what's the balance between you? Who is the dreamer, for instance? Well, all of us. You can't do anything without dreaming. I mean, we wouldn't be here without our dreams. In your interviews, but by the way, be realistic in your dreams. Don't draw for nothing for long years. In your interviews, by the way, Mazhar Bey has a book called Being Mazhar. And he says there, I mean, your profession really boosts your ego. So how do you keep your egos down? Well, when you say me all the time, it will not serve you. It will not be useful. That is something very predominant in people. They say my book, my poem, my song, my composition, my idea. My idea is maybe the strongest one. My. Everyone says me. And that's maybe how we progressed until a certain point. But as we aged, as we came to this age called the maturity, we stopped doing this. But my recommendation to you, of course, is to stop saying me before you come to that age. And all of us, I mean, for us to make a decision, we all have to agree. It's never a democracy. It's never 2+1. It's always unanimous. If Fuat says okay, I say okay, and Özkan says no, we don't say it's 2-1 and it's democracy and we will go ahead. No, all three of us should be in consensus. If Özkan says no, everything is either cancelled or we try to convince them. If there is a problem, by the way, no one sees it as personal, and probably it's because of love. I mean, even if they don't pay me today, I would still write poems and lyrics for songs. And even if you don't pay Fuat, I know he's gonna continue playing his guitar, and Özkan would play his bass guitar day and night. Sometimes we open our Facebook accounts. Someone goes to make coffee, the other one goes to the toilet, and sometimes we turn on the same channel and we speak to one another on FaceTime. So there's always communication. I mean, of course there are disagreements, just like the disagreements you have with your brothers and sisters. When there's no conflict in a family, there should be a problem, and the same goes for the group. It's like, yes, it's like the fight or argument between brothers. We are one step further above friendship. We can even, I mean, we can say that we are the closest friends because there's this trust between us. And also when you make good songs and when you give a nice feeling to your audience, that is something, that is an accomplishment. And it's been 46 years, and it's so easy to finish things, to end things, but it's so hard to keep it going. Just for your personal interests, personal ambitions, or personal desires, it doesn't worth ruining something so strong. We had a brand, a value, an apple called MFÖ, and we said none of us has the right to rot this apple. So although we had different opinions, conflicts, we always protected the interests of the band MFÖ. Just like Fuat says, even if the agreement cannot be solved, I mean, we try to convince one another. And at the end of the day, we're a company, an organization. We together as three people, and we, of course, may have different ideas, but we also learn to say okay, to say yes to one another, because in the past, we used to start everything by saying no, but now it's not like that anymore. Now we listen to one another. There was this issue we were discussing, for instance, about the band, and Özkan talked to me about it on FaceTime, and he convinced me. And the other day, I called him and I said, "You're right. Same goes for Fuat. He might convince me." I mean, this is, of course, when you're spending energy to convince one another, but that's a requirement for your business. After every concert, we talk about how the concert went along, how was the technical details, the microphones, etc. We discuss everything. And the important thing is, after so many years, we still do our sound check. We go there 2-3 hours before. In Harbiye concerts, for instance, around 5 p.m., we start getting spasms because we get nervous before the concert with Özkan. When we ask Fuat, he says, I'm not nervous at all, but I always think that he's the most nervous one. You are right indeed. For me, I mean, if it's gonna be a concert, we need to feel happy when playing, and you need to feel happy when listening. So I really don't think we have the luxury to forgive small mistakes, because we're doing something serious, professional, and I don't like lack of attention. And that's why we always rehearse before we're on the stage. We do the sound check. It's not like, come on, let's play whatever comes to our minds. So still you do rehearsals after so many years? Of course. And the fact is, if they would ask me now, I mean, back when we were 20 years old, if they would ask me when I was 20 years old, that whether I thought I would be on the stage at this age, I wouldn't really think so. But we never stopped. We never stopped composing new songs, and every time we composed a new song, we did an album, and then we went to the concerts. That's the stage we are in now. And now, for instance, we are doing the concerts. When this ends, we're gonna compose again, make an album again, sing again. So I think we managed to be us. With our songs and lyrics and music, we have become one. As you know, we never play anyone else's songs. And I never thought people would appreciate our music, really. And we were kind of appreciated at a later stage. 40 years ago, the songs we composed 40 years ago are now liked and appreciated. If the albums we make today will be understood and appreciated in 20 years' time, we won't probably be able to see it. But I'm sure they're gonna love it in 20 years' time as well. It's gonna be our heritage, our legacy. We really did some couple of good songs, really. So you say it was a late success. Well, because I remember my hair. I was losing my hair, and I really understood how important it was to do something good. It was the times of Diday. There was terror back then. Well, the most delightful thing was actually to be liked by the young people again. The fact that they appreciated us, the fact that they understood the value of our songs. Diday, together with Ele Güne, I mean, both songs helped us to spread to masses. So you said you started losing your hair, and there were challenges, but as the years pass by, is it harder to overcome challenges? Well, we were in Eskişehir the other day. It was -5 degrees. It was freezing cold. My fingers froze. And I looked into the eyes of Özkan. He said, my fingers are hurting. And I'm also pushing the guitar string, and I'm not sure whether I'm really pushing the string or not, because I can't feel my finger. It was numb. And I'm really praying to God. I really hope that I won't get stuck in Güllerin İçinden song, because my fingers were not able to move anymore. So these are the challenges, maybe. It's so great to get to know you up close and personal way. I mean, so much effort, That's so great to host you here. And my last question would be, I mean, the people here, the young students here, they will graduate from their schools very soon, and they will start their career. Just think about your years back then when you were in their age. What would you tell them? Why did you study? Why the hell did you study? And I would like to add one more thing, collective work. Unfortunately, in our country, collective working is not a well-known notion. We make discoveries, then take those discoveries to the grave with us. We don't share. We don't like sharing. However, those inventions should turn into other inventions. And you know, they say the biggest invention of humanity is teamwork. Wow, the biggest invention of humanity is teamwork. I think we should use it as a slogan at YGA. Okay, yeah, so we invented internet, etc., but this is the most important thing. How many governments fell, but we didn't fall? And that's thanks to collaboration. You should appreciate collaboration, have good teamwork, come together with people that you get along with, believe in what you do. If you believe in what you do, and if you have a good team, there's no way that you're gonna fail. We did go through so many stages. We worked with different people. We met different people. But at the end, we said, okay, three of us, we're the right band, we're the right group. If you're gonna have partnerships with your friends in the future, try to pick the right people for that. So towards the end, since you're here, since you allocated this time to us, when you feel like you're playing the guitar in a freezing cold, just think about how they endured. Think about this teamwork. Please remember the important messages delivered by the MFÖ. Thank you. So we have to shake a little bit. So now, the next speaker is someone who started working in factories. He looks at the factory that his dad is working in, and he says, I loved it, I was impressed by it, and they did the biggest investment in industry. So we're talking about a company that exports to 70 countries, that employs 900 people. But that's not what we're going to talk about now. We're going to talk about the personal journey of our dream partner. We're going to talk about the personal journey of Mehmet Söylemez.
Arkadaşlar merhaba.
Welcome.
Ben de sabahtan beri buradayım.
I've been here since 9 a.m. and since 2012 I've attended every single time and I find it highly rewarding. I can't wait. I crave for it. and I enjoy it every
Bir tane
single time.
fotoğraf getirdim yanımda.
I have
O
two
6
pictures
yaşında
with me
gördüğüm
to show
fabrikayı
you just
merak ettiniz mi?
exactly what that
Onu gösterebiliyor muyuz?
factory
Gösterebiliriz abi,
looked like
orası burası.
when I saw it at the age of 6.
Bu yeni çekilmiş hali. Biraz daha küçüktü.
So this is brand
Ama
new.
6 yaşında baktığım
I
zaman
was
böyle vay be
slightly
demiştim.
younger. I saw
Evet,
this at
yani
the age
böyle
of
bir şey,
6 and I
böyle bir
was
şeyde olmak, böyle
aghast.
şeyler geçti.
You know,
Fakat burası Seydişehir Alüminyum Tesisleri.
This
Türkiye'nin
is,
ilk ağır sanayi yatırımlarından ve 6 yaşındaki çocuğun
this is a
girmesinin de çok
factory
mümkün olmadığı yerler.
that
Dış kazaları
manufactures
tehlikeli bir sektör.
aluminum. It's
Dışarıdan
dangerous for a
bakıyorsunuz, merak
6-year-old
ediyorsunuz,
because
içine
there could be
girmiyorsunuz.
lots and lots of
Müthiş bir merak uyandırmıştı bende. Şimdi düşünüyorum
accidents.
da hani belki
And
kaderim
I was
içinmiş bu
aghast, I
benim.
was
Bu
curious.
kare, bunu
I wasn't
görmek,
allowed
babam
in,
fizik
but I
mühendisi.
think that set my destiny.
O
My
da genç
daddy
bir mühendis
is a
burada.
physics engineer.
O yıllarda
He was
ilk
like a young
herhalde
engineer
fabrikaları sevdiren,
working for the
üretimi
factory.
sevdiren, sanayi
And I,
sevdiren, 6 yaşında gördüm bu tesisleri.
okay, so that's
Çok
what made me
kıymetli
fall
benim
in
için.
love
Dolayısıyla şu an
with
özelleşti
heavy
falan ama
industry.
Seydişehir
It's
Alüminyum
already
Tesisleri hala çok kıymetli
privatized,
bir
but you
üretim
know what?
tesisi benim için.
For me, it's that
Bir de
special.
evet, bugünkü
Let's see what it
Sarı'nın
looks like
bahsettiği,
now.
Avrupa'da en iyi otomasyon
In terms of
tesisi ödül almış
automation,
bir yatırım.
it
Bu
is the
sektörün büyük
best
yatırımlarından.
around Europe.
Bugün
It got
konuşacaklarımızda
an
işte
award
bu
that
iki
says
kare
that it's
arasında
the best.
geçen olaylar olacak.
And I'm going to be
Mehmet abi,
telling
ben
you
biraz
what
daha,
happened in
tanıtayım.
between.
Hayal ortaklarımız arasında
Okay, so
kendiyle
he's
ilgili,
one of our
kendini
dream partners.
eğitme diyelim değil mi abi? Kendi
Yoruldun Sadık yani.
keşfetme.
Vay yoruldun
You're
yani.
tired, aren't you? You seem to be
Öyle oldu ama tatlı,
stammering.
güzel bir yorgunluk.
Okay, but I like it.
Bir süreci var. Hatta
Right, so there is
inşaat
like
devam
a
ederken,
process.
Normalde üst yöneticiler bu kadar zaman ayırmazlar bu eğitim.
Normally,
Mehmet abi çok ciddi zaman ayırıyor.
leadership
Bu
don't put in
öğrendiklerini
so
de, bu
much
hayat
time,
tecrübelerini de
but he
Ulusal
does.
Sermaye kitabında
And
yazmıştı.
what
Şimdi
he's
Aralık'ın
learned
başında
all the
çıkacak.
way
Birlikte
through
Başarma
is
kitabıyla
to be brought to
paylaşacak.
you in a
Ama bu
book
zamanları bir
that will soon be
buradan bir
published in
başlasak ya,
December. So
çünkü
let's start from
Mehmet abi
there.
o kadar sevmiş olmalı ki bu işleri liseyi de bırakıyor.
He loves it so much that
Değil mi? Ondan sonra iş
he's
hayatındasınız
actually quitting
komple.
high school altogether and to dedicate 100% to business. We moved to Antalya, that's where I went to high school. As a sophomore, my daddy had, my grandfather had a corner shop, my dad was an engineer. Yes, well, he could afford 4 or 5 flats. My dad had, I don't know, maybe like in total, like 1 million liras altogether that he had earned. He could like rent those flats, rent the flats, and enjoy a comfortable living. But he wanted to invest it all. And he said, by the way, if you're not going to be sorry, eventually, he proposed to us. He said, why not set up this plant together? And he'd attended college. He'd actually also taught at university. He said, you're welcome to access knowledge. I can help you. Why not start? I was 17, my brother was 15. We thought about it. The next day, it sounded even more outstanding, and that's how we got involved for 6 years afterwards. Myself and my brother had never ever had such a great challenge. We were like in the cellar basically for 6 years. To lay the foundation of what was to become a major conglomerate. But in hindsight, I believe that it's worth it 100%. Tell us about yourself and your father, the way you relate to each other. Because like you took a great deal of responsibility. My dad always said he had a great deal of patience. I'm not sure if I can endure as much. Some fathers like to grow cattle. Some a lion. But if you have a fierce lion, it's okay to strike every now and then. And until the age of 30, I did that a couple of times because he did nurture me as a fierce.
Yani küslükler, gerginlikler her şey vardı ama sorumluluk verirdi. Küçük bir Heyecan anlatayım.
is a
İzmir
fierce,
Fuarı'na
wild
katılacağız.
lion.
Mustafa'yı kardeşim İzmir Fuarı'na gönderdi.
Here's an
16 yaşında
anecdote.
falan. Oğlum
There was
dedi,
meant to be an
gitmiyor. İki
exhibition.
standımız var.
My brother was
Yap.
only
Yani
16.
oteli
My
ayarlanmış.
dad
Yani
appointed him.
otobüsün bagajında götürüyor Mustafa. İzmir'e daha önce hiç gitmemiş.
He hadn't even booked the hotel.
Ertesi sabah
Never ever
kahvaltıda
traveled to
babam
İzmir.
küs.
My mom got
Küçük çocuğu
really
İzmir'e
pissed
gönderdim
off.
diye.
She's like,
Elbette
why
canı
let him
sıkılmıştır.
go alone?
Yaptı bunları.
He
Dolayısıyla
managed.
bu anlamda çok şey
He
borçluyuz.
found it
Hakikaten
dead
bize
hard, but he
sorumluluğu verdi.
managed. He
Yaparsanız
held
bir
us
büyük
accountable,
hem anne hem baba tarafından.
my
İki
mom
kardeşiz.
and my dad. They would hold us accountable, but they also would delegate a great deal. So there you go, the company is growing.
İnisiyatif alan ve büyüyen ve tutkuyla bir şeylere devam eden bir yandan giderken işler hep böyle iyi mi gidiyor? Yani sizin
Is it that
tarafınızda,
things always went well?
Şimdi şöyle, iş hayatındaki başarının hayat başarısı olmadığını zamanla öğreniyorsunuz. Tabii ben
You only
şahsen
learn
erken
after a
öğrendim
while
gerçekten.
that
30'da
just
falan
because
fark
you're
ettim.
doing
Bir
well
dakika
at
dedim ya.
work doesn't mean that
büyüyor,
life is a
para
bounty.
kazanılıyor.
It's good to
Ama
grow and
muhtemelen
to make money, but that's not enough to have a
özel
happy
hayatla
life.
iş hayatının ayrımının bir illüzyon olduğunu ilk o
It
zaman
is delusional to believe that life has two compartments. There's only just one. There's no need to decompartmentalize. I've never seen a person who is like good in one way and bad in another and has failed in another. There's like, just because you've gotten a divorce, that doesn't suggest that you failed. We've only got one life. Okay, so you're doing well at work, but you are unhappy. So how are you feeling? Why are you unhappy, although you were doing so well at work? This I've only just realized. Freud says that human beings seek pleasure, and Adler believes that we all seek sense of superiority. And Adler says we all seek meaning. It's because there's a void in our search for meaning. Buying a Ferrari is a source of pleasure, but writing a book, wanting to write a book, is our quest for meaning. And it is way more rewarding than driving a Ferrari. What were you doing? Like I love driving motorbike, driving fast. My dad couldn't have not allowed me because, like, by the age of 27, I had other businesses that I was making money from. He couldn't financially prohibit, so I had a bike for 10 years. And I have 10 friends who died in a bike accident. It sounded all very well, but okay, then there's one accident a bit after the bike. Okay, so here's what happened. I have the conviction that you need to try and you need to, like, make sure to experience. Life is about incidences. Every single incident is an inspiration, be it big or small. So, like, here was this accident, there was a crash, I was holding 2 bottles, I crashed and I cut my hand. So I was like thinking, what on earth was happening? So I shouldn't be doing it, okay? It was a wrong thought. It was a wee cut, Band-Aid was good enough. But you'll end up running into a bigger crash if you don't learn from your mistakes until you learn. I've seen it happen. So I suggest you do that too. Like maybe you stumble, I don't know, you have an accident or something. What were you thinking? What should you learn? And he says that Cücelol is my mentor, and you also spend a great deal of time with him. So there's like, I don't know, we need to self-experiment in terms of reading, meaning, interpreting. Okay, so tell us about this accident. Racing cars have a wide rim, and like if it rains a lot, it can't. There is a problem in terms of road handling and aquaplaning. So you basically end up entering aquaplaning. It was a 4x4. I kept pressing the accelerator pedal, and it didn't do a wheel spin. 130 kilometers per hour was the limit, and honestly, that very moment, I had aquaplaned, and that was a huge crash that I avoided. I laterally crashed into a pole. I was okay, no problem, but the car was in shambles. But obviously, if I hadn't learned from that accident, I would have ended up in a bigger accident. So it's like from then on, I made sure that I didn't drive so fast. And then I said, why not write a book? Also, like, don't call it human resources, but rather human assets. One more thing. So, what did that make you feel? Okay, so what did you quit sort of doing? What was your insight? Don't just push it so far. You need to set your own limits. And perhaps like you've never actually experienced aquaplaning or a black swan. And you need to, by the time you're 30, until the age of 40, you need to be in quest of meaning rather than pleasure. Okay, so here you see it, company doing well. He was not doing well, happiness-wise. He had an accident. And since 2000, I've investigated psychology. Now there's a hobby. I now know that I'm actually doing, and I know much better than many clinical psychologists. I've also had few friends commit suicide. They had enough money. So doing well at work is no reason to be happy alone. You might say, just because I'm a fortune, I started off in a cellar, okay? I've seen it all happen. So that turning point, that's how you met him, right? Tell us a few striking instances. Because during one conversation, you had said that it was a moment of truth. I love the saying, Carlos Castaneda, Don Juan is a shamanic magician, Carlos is an anthropologist, and Don Juan says to him, the warrior is as strong as how dedicated he is and Puritan he is. So if you want things to change, it doesn't happen by reading a book. But you somehow run into people that are meant to make it happen if you are strong-willed. And I've only made it possible because of the people that I've run into. It's impossible for people to do it alone. Even like a cup of coffee, 1,000 people, the growers, the people who do the grinding, and also to make life happen. That doesn't, it's not good enough just because you make money. So it's about who you network with and how you're in contact with the right people. And I think Professor Doğan is perhaps the best. One question I forgot to ask earlier on. The right person? Let's make a definition of what it means to be the right person. I seek 3 qualities, and it always works. Don't bifurcate between what's work and what's private. You need to be excited before you're seeing that person. Okay? You think about me? No? I'm thinking about someone, all right? Okay. Okay. And number 2, when you're with that person, are you passionate? And number 3, like when how do you feel when that person's away? Are you happy? How does it feel deep down? Like deep down. These are about the heart. And number 3 is the best. So she may be really sexy. He may be a hunk. And you might like being with that person. But number 3 is like when you're away from each other, if you don't crave for one another, then that means that person is the wrong person. I love Eric's definition of love. He says, loving is about nurturing and making that person grow. I haven't seen a better definition. There was a book about Aziz Sancar. At the end of the book, there's a quote from him. He says thank you to his wife and to his daughter. He says, I thank them because they have kept me committed. Yeah. Yeah. So it's because of them that I stayed committed. What kept you on rail and committed? Sinan says, give us a surprise. Okay? Now is the time to surprise. Remember, every year we get an announcement on the top 500. It's like a scorecard. Okay? 214 is where we currently are. We had a good year, and we actually made it 50 places in one go, and we are 164th. And I told Sinan, we ran a marketing communications campaign which says that we are progressing very fast. Sinan sent me a WhatsApp message, a vocal record, a voice record. Sinan is sort of telling me what these people are up to. Play. Okay.
Oksijen azalır diye. O yüzden
Play again, please.
Demet yükseliyoruz demişsin. Muhtar Kent'in bir sözü var. Yükselirken hep oksijen azalır diye. O yüzden yükselirken oksijeniniz azalmasın. Sağlıklı büyüyün inşallah.
Stay oxygenated, because it's often a danger that while you're ascending, you might deoxygenize. Okay, so there we go. You may be ascending, but stay committed. And normally, you'd be like, well done. Oh my gosh, well done. It'd say something like, make it into we want to see you in the top 100. You want to spoil a person? Say well done. He's just sort of giving me a warning and saying, fair enough, but stay committed. Don't stretch too far. So he's saying that in a really, really nice way. So, look, this is what it is all about. I don't, thankfully, have any toxic people around me, but these are people that make me stay grounded. That doesn't mean I should never dream. He enables my dreams, but he also keeps me grounded. Sinan, do you remember this? Okay. We are slightly late, but there's 2 things I'd like to converge. A few lost phrases. Okay, so one take-home message for the young audience. Any sort of recommendations, advice? Until the age of 20 or 30, you seek approval. Approval from your mum, approval from dad, approval from your connections. Bear that in mind. I'm not saying it should be nil, because without approval you can't engage in relationships. Be a natural, okay? Don't love thyself just because you are thriving at work, okay? Because of who you are. Because of your temperament, just because of who you are. So, you can't expect others to love you if you don't love yourself. It is not narcissistic disorder if you don't think if you don't attach value to yourself, then no one's gonna attach value to you. And they will love you and they will cherish you that way. I don't think we love ourselves enough. Bear that in mind to set healthy relationships. This dawned on me much later in life. Bear that in mind. Be an astute observer. Yes, it's about self-esteem, self-worth, and the quest for approval. You might become a beggar for love and affection if it's all about being loved by others. Love thyself deep down and learn to love others. And then you think, well, you know, you run out of time caring for yourself if you spend too much time caring endlessly for others. And find the right people. You need to invest time and energy in people. Okay? I said, I'm really fortunate to Don. He said, you're not fortunate. You put effort. Because I remember attending a conference in 2009. He said, you're the person who made it happen. And I said, wow, I did a good job. Because it's like father and son relationship. And tremendous role in making it happen. We're grateful. Okay, fine. Surround yourself with the right people, value them, and celebrate them. Thank you. I have a question. Now, how many of you applied last year, didn't get elected, but you came back and got elected this year? So well done for sticking around and for not giving up.
Evet.
Good.
Şimdi bakalım şimdi
Okay.
yorgunluk şeyini böyle gözlere bakarak anlaşılıyor ya. Evet.
I wonder. Yep, we're still here. Good, not bad.
Şimdi davet edeceğim konuşmacı
The next
aslında bizim
person
velimiz.
to
Oğlu Kaan
invite.
bizim ilköğretim programına başvurmuştu.
She's actually a parent, he or she,
o güzel aileyle de
part of the primary school program
YGA
with a kid.
girişimlerinden bugün çok bahsetmedik ama YGA'nın sürdürülebilir olması için
For our young gurus to be sustainable, we need like grassroots activity. And we never say nothing. We say collective action, okay, collective spirit. Then they said to us, they said, okay, fair enough. You need a bit of ambition, don't you? You need to have drive to succeed. NGOs, fair enough, it's good. But at work, you need to deliver more. One of the people that first trusted us, Olcayto Yiğit.
Sağ ol abi. Teşekkürler. Abi ne olur niye YGA girişimlerine inandınız? Onu da paylaşırsanız.
Okay, so tell us why you entrusted the initiative.
Soru. Şimdi geliyor mu?
What was the question?
Soru.
What was the question? Tell us why you entrusted the initiative.
YGA ile ilk tanışmam aslında tesadüfle oldu. Ben tesadüflere
through coincidence. I believe in coincidences because it brings on board the right people, and it's the right people that can eventually instigate more opportunity. I believed in them because they had conviction in their own selves. It is contagious faith. How it all began, and it's lovely to be here this evening. It has been a long day. The presentations have been inspiring, outstanding, teaching us a great deal. Before I move on to my message for this evening, there is like one thing I'd like to say about myself. I think I missed out on 3 things. With my first employer, my first day at work, there's this bonkers woman, and I said, I need not, let me stay away. 3 years later, I ended up marrying her.
Çalışma hayatımda yolum
And
mobil
number two,
telefonun ilk filizlendiği günlerde gerçekleşti.
it all
Mobil
blossomed,
telekom sektörüne
my
girdim.
investment,
Fakat
when
dedim ki ya
mobile
bu ağır,
telecoms
pahalı
were at a
hale
seedling
kim
stage.
olacak?
And I was
Hemen
thinking,
sektör değiştirdim.
who can afford it all?
3.
Because it was bulky
Rüzgarla ilk
and expensive.
tanıştığımda
So I switched. And when I
hiçbir
first
zaman
met
bu kadar ümit
wind,
veren bir sektör olabileceğine
never had
aklı
I
kesmedi.
presumed
Ben
that
iyisi mi dedim,
there was so
bildiğim
much in store.
ana faaliyet
And
kollarına
I
fokuslanayım.
said, why not focus on
Talih.
traditional areas of expertise? But that was
Bir,
luck.
20 yıldır
Number
evliyim
one, I married for
ve
20 years,
en büyük hayal ortağım,
and my
en
biggest
büyük
dream
pusulam.
partner, my biggest
2.
compass
Mobil telekom müthiş
is
bir başarı
my
oldu,
spouse.
olabilir.
Mobile telecoms
Kaçırdıklarıma
is
hayıflanmıyorum.
a humongous
3.
achievement,
10
and I
senedir
don't
rüzgarın
regret
içinde
what I
çok
might have
keyifli bir
missed.
yolculuktayız.
And wind has taken me on a very pleasant
Rüzgarı
trip now for
tanıdıkça
13
sevdim.
years. I enjoy wind the more I got to know,
Sevdikçe inceledim.
and
İnceledikçe
thus the more I
içinde
got to learn
YGA ile
and
örtüşen çok güzel
investigate.
hikayeler olduğunu gördüm.
And there are plenty sort of stories that more or less overlap the young guru. So that's why I'm here to share with you these
1973
stories.
senesinde başlıyor hikayemiz.
It
Neden
starts in
73
1973.
senesi? Dünyanın kökünden sallandığı
It
bir
is in
sene.
1973 when
Petrol
there was a
ambargosu,
major
ekonomik,
ramshackle,
sosyolojik
the
depremlerin yaşandığı bir
embargo,
sene. Hatta Türkiye'yi bile çok ciddi sallayan
sanctions,
bir sene.
and
Benim çocukluğum
it
anıları
had
arasında
severe
komşunun
implications for
deposundan
Turkey. I remember
hortumla
when I
benzin
was
çekmeye
wee,
çalışırken
we're trying to pump
hastanelik
fuel
olmak
out
veya
of
Ecevit
our
vitesi,
next door neighbor's
hatırlayan var mıdır bilmiyorum, yokuş
storage
başlarında.
tank,
İkinci krizde ise
and we
bir de
could
aman
hardly,
petrol
we
şarkısı
couldn't
var ki
change
onu
gear
hatırlamasak da olur.
as we were driving up an
Şimdi
inclination.
bu kriz Danimarka'yı da çok
Okay,
ciddi etkiledi.
so
Neden?
it took its toll on the Danish
%99
economy.
fosil yakıta dayalı bir enerji ekonomisi.
99% of the Danish economy
Hemen
relied
ne
on
yapabiliriz diye
fossil
ciddi
fuels.
kriz masaları konuldu.
So they were thinking,
Tek çare
how do we
nükleer.
deal with this? Nuclear was the
Bürokratı,
only way out.
politikacısı,
You had the Politburo, you had engineers, you had everyone
Ama bu
agreeing.
dünyada da böyle. Nükleer o gün için gözüken
And that
tek
was also,
çözüm.
the situation for other
Ama neyse
markets.
ki
Nuclear was
bugün
the
de
only way out
sizler gibi
to solve
üniversiteli
it.
gençler vardı.
Thankfully, there were
Bu gençler
hundreds
her
of
şeyi sorguladıkları
thousands
gibi
of
enerji
youngsters
politikalarını da
who had a
sorgulamaya
curious
başladılar.
mind, and
Biraz da
likewise,
69
they would
kuşağının
question
coşkusuyla
policies and energy.
anti-nükleer STK'ları kurdular.
And that's how they
Bu
said
anti-nükleer söylem
they built
zaman içinde
anti-nuclear
ekolojik, çevreci,
civic
temiz
movement
enerji teknolojilerini destekleyen
as
STK'lara
proponents of
evrildi.
clean
Bunlar
energy.
çevre kulüpleri kurdular.
They would set
Yürüyüşler
up
düzenlediler.
clubs,
Münazaralar düzenlendi.
they would hold
Çalışma kampları
demonstrations,
Ve
and
böylece
also
sürekli
like
bir taban hareketi oluşmaya
working
başladı.
groups.
Bu taban hareketi bir kamuoyu.
This led to a grassroots event, and it also led to shaping public sentiment, eventually policy making.
Uygun ortamı hazırladılar. Destekler, teşvikler konuldu. Vestas'ın tarihini inceleyen
Now,
bir gazetecinin
a
o
journalist that
dönemde
investigated the
hippilerle
history of
girişimcilerin mükemmel harmonisi.
the restless says it's
Ve bu ortamda girişimciler
under
ortaya
these
çıkmaya başladı.
circumstances you have
Kim bu
entrepreneurs
girişimciler?
such as
Bir kısmı sıradan vatandaş.
some of them were ordinary
Arka
folk.
bahçesinde tahta kanatlarıyla yaptığı ilk türbün.
The very first tribune
Veyahut
that
da
they had ever had,
çevre hareketinin içinden gelenler.
or
71
people
senesinde
who were
okuduğu
part of
politeknikte çevre kulübüyle
the
tanışıp
environmental program.
73 senesinde
By
solar kolektör
1973,
düzenleyen, 75 senesinde de
and in
katıldığı çalışma kampında
1975,
bir aha anında
it was a
niçin
moment
türbün
of
kanatları, rüzgar türbünü kanatları
eureka,
fiberglass olmuyor
contemplating why can it not
modern
be
kanat
fiberglass.
teknolojisini çıkaran girişimci gibi. Ve o gün örneğin buldukları çözümler de gayet pratik.
The solutions that they
Nakliye
had had
problemi var.
were practical
Ünlülerden
enough,
bugünün ikonik Volkswagen minibüsü yetişmiş.
and they would
Ve
ship
o gün de
with a
özdeşleşen güzel
Volkswagen
bir anı olarak kalmış.
commercial vehicle.
Bu girişimciler
So
ne
here are
yaptı? Bu
people,
girişimciler
what exactly did
daha
they
fazla,
achieve? They
daha çok inanan insanı tetikledi.
would
Örneğin
motivate
bir okul
and drive
ve
believers,
etrafındaki
for
komünite.
instance, a school
Niçin biz
and the
rüzgar
community
türbünü
around
kullanmıyoruz
it,
sorusuyla
Why can't we build a wind turbine?
finansal birikimleri
They didn't
sınırlı.
have
Ama
the
bu
engineering
idealle
knowledge
yola
and
çıktıklarında
hardly any financials.
Danimarka'nın dört bir tarafından çok farklı kesimlerden destek alarak
But they
bu
could
projeyi
get
hayata
support from
geçiriyorlar.
all over the place.
300'den fazla kişinin
There were more
katılımıyla
than
başarılı
300 people.
başarılı bir şekilde bu tamamlanan proje teknolojik olarak bir başarı mı? Değil. Ama toplumun geri kalanına çok büyük bir ilham kaynağı. Bütün bunlar olurken aslında Atlantik'in öteki tarafında da bir hareket var.
While all of that was happening, on the other coast of the Atlantic, this became a contest severely hit by the 1973, embarking on what could pose an alternative. The quest for technology, technological superiority, is how to build the best turbine. The answer was, let's do it centrally, from one single given source. And they delegated NASA 3 years ago. They had already traveled to the moon and back. And NASA believed that they would bring together and bring on board all the most experienced to better utilize their engineering, Boeing, Westinghouse, and GE. Very rapidly, they would design and build prototypes. Also in Denmark, this is what things look like. Because the country had turned into a wind lab. You have hundreds of projects, totally different ways in these. But again, it was also kind of unique because you have entrepreneurs that contested each other, but we're also learning from one another and sharing from mistakes, find out why failures happened. So investors or entrepreneurs could come back to me and also learn from my mistakes and failures to make sure they don't repeat. This helps build a robust ecosystem because it's like replenishing and feeding through the data. How did the Danish manage to do this? They did it collectively. They built the right climate for innovation, and they worked together. They trusted each other and sought each other's help, and basically built a strong foundation and built a strong building. At the end, all stakeholders believed it and supported it. It's the right climate, and here's a reporter who starts off with a question. This is the book that I'd like to refer to. Why is it that throughout history you've got certain parts, certain cities that are heavily composed of geniuses? What makes them, what sets them apart? There are multiple factors why that might have happened, but there's no sort of secret prescription. What helps breed geniuses is the climate. It helps them grow. It helps them sort of interact with a certain culture. Plato had said it way back in ancient times. We've got the same saying. It's like, you sow what you reap what you sow. These are not projects that they themselves were engaged in. It's merely the tip of the iceberg. What makes the young guru so very meaningful is the way it engages and the culture that it instills, trust, sort of witnessing each other and building upon a strong foundation. Like today, I'm sure you've seen it for yourself if you went around. The young guru is strong in terms of environment and technology. I think one of the biggest challenges is environmental degradation and not being able to preserve the ecosystem. The Young Guru Academy can, through its working model, can deliver solutions on combating this profound issue. Like in the morning, you've heard it from other people who spoke. The 21st century brings about multiple issues, and you can't grapple against those problems through archaic or anachronistic solutions. You need to be sufficiently equipped to deliver innovative solutions. It is like a first officer that is navigating a ship, doesn't know where to moor. So the Young Guru Academy knows where to sail to. The compass is the heart.
Benim hala umudum var.
I still have hopes because there's YGA, because there are people who are driven by their heart, because you exist. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Olcayto. And as he said, I mean, all the values that he mentioned will be spread to the world. YGA is opening its fourth office in London, and our culture will continue inspiring the world. We're close to the end. Now I would like to invite Dicle Olcay, who sang after the lunch break, as you may remember. And let's come down. Let's continue our chat here. Well, we just met Dicle very recently, and maybe that scene at Phi, do you remember? If you watched it, you remember probably, and we loved her. It's been so recent that we have met, but we had very shortly established this connection, heartfelt connection. So how everything happened? I was very, very excited, of course, to have met you, and I always wanted to apply your philosophy in my life. But in the conservatory, music school, we were always taught to be individual. You're singing, you're being admired, and of course, you like this when you're growing up. I mean, this feeling of I did it. It's kind of you're always one step ahead of the others. It may be wrong, or I don't know how to express it, but you become a dreamer. And then I launched my album, and they said, you're going to be the star of the year, you're going to be, click this much in YouTube, you're going to be so successful. And then I realized that we need to do something more than this perception of success. But before that, of course, I mean, we failed to have so many clicks. We started blaming one another, and we forgot how we could satisfy one another. We forgot each other. We forgot how to do teamwork. So you forgot the teamwork existed? Yes, we stopped thinking about each other. We stopped sharing. What we felt in Phi, I mean, most of the people here know about this. I mean, we felt this vibe in Phi. What happened? Well, I'm so lucky to have come across such a great project. When I first went there, I mean, from all the actors and actresses and musicians, no one tried to be one step ahead of each other. Everyone talked about how to support one another. We wanted to shine all together, and we wanted to overcome the challenges together. And when I was thinking about how should I look in the clip, I did my own makeup and my hair, and we loved you in that stage, and you were also very close with some people. This teamwork, I mean, I've seen it so concretely at your academy. Very sincere, real teamwork, and I am grateful to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you. And now, without further ado, Dicle, can you please make us live those moments that we experienced in the TV series, TV show? Thank you.
Bugünlerde bir şeyler oluyor bana, acep neden? Yalnızlık geçiyor gönlümdeki ıslak caddelerden. Bakarsan bu penceremden, dünyam kapkaranlık, neden bilsen. Aç kapıyı, gir içeri, gönlüm bekliyor seni. Aç kapıyı, gir içeri, gönlüm bekliyor seni. Bana ne şu yalan, dünyada yanında sen olmazsan. Gözlerim kapanmaz, seni sinemde uyutmazsa. Sevmeyince hayat bomboş dedi, yaşamayı bana sen öğrettin. Aç kapıyı, gir içeri, gönlüm bekliyor seni. Aç kapıyı, gir içeri, gönlüm bekliyor seni.
Piyanoda o ben akın. Davulda Bora Özordu. Bas gitarda Murat Çantapa. Perküsyonda Fatih. Saksafonda Ali İsmet Korucu. Gitarda Serkan Gözümcü. Ben gelmedim kavga için, benim işim sevgi için. Dostun evi gönüllerdi, gönüller yanmaya geldi. birlikten kuvvetli uyuyorsak alkışlarla eşlik edebilirsiniz bana. Hadi. Aç kafayı gir içeri kısmını birlikte söylüyor muyuz? Şöyle yapalım. En başta üst taraf, sonra orta taraf, sonra alt taraf, sonra hep birlikte. Hazır mıyız? Üst taraf hazır mısın? Duyuyor musun beni? Son, 2, 3. Aç kafayı. Süpersiniz. Orta taraf şimdi sende. Aç kafayı gir içeri. İşte bu. Hadi alt taraf. Aç kapıyı. Hazırsak hep birlikte. Hadi. Aç kapıyı gir içeri, gönlüm bekliyor seni. Aç kapıyı gir içeri, gönlüm bekliyor seni. Aç kapıyı gir içeri, gönlüm bekliyor seni.
Bir daha. Bir daha.
Çok teşekkürler.
Bir daha.
Bir daha ise birlikte bir daha o zaman. Olur mu?
Tamam. Tamam.
O kadar çok sevdim ki. Hadi. Ben gelmedim kavga için. Benim işim sevgi için. Hadi hep birlikte. Dostun evi gönülleri gönüller yapmaya geldim, gönüller yapmaya geldim, gönüller. Dostun evi gönülleri gönüller yapmaya geldim, gönüller
Evet. Dicle Olcay ve ekibine çok teşekkür ederiz. YGA
Thank you very much, Dicle Olcay and her team. The song really describes the spirit of YGA. Thank you very much for coming. And we sincerely hope that you will open every door and bring love with you. And you're gonna carry out meaningful projects for a better world. This is the end of the YGA Summit. Maybe one last applause for the YGA volunteers, because volunteerism is sometimes perceived wrongly. It's like you can do anything arbitrary. No, it means doing things from your heart. I mean, as you know, such organizations are done by 50 people, but from the sound to the conference hall and everything, it's done with 50 people, so they definitely deserve to be applauded on our feet. And we might we could have had some mistakes. It's possible. You may make mistakes when you're trying to do the best you can, but believe me that we try to do our best. With your feedback, with your comments, we're gonna improve it even further next year. If you want to be a YGA volunteer, make your second application to the Academy. Application forms will be open tomorrow. You can fill them until 15th of December. Now, for those who are going back to the Anatolian provinces, your shuttles will be waiting for you where they left you. And thank you very much once again for your participation.
Bugünlerde bir şey